I am an ordinary international student preparing to study abroad in the United States, and I am preparing to work hard to study and make progress every day, returning from studying to build a beautiful motherland. But at the moment of stepping into America, everything was different. You picked up the basketball. You walked into the stadium. You are constantly moving forward amidst the hustle and bustle of the stadium. One of the 5 strongest quantiles of the quantile era, one of the strongest 5 major forwards of the era of power forwards, one of the strongest 5 forwards of all sizes in the era of small forwards. Finally, when I became the top center of the league, I realized that I had no enemies left. Looking at the basketball in my hand, I fell silent for a moment. I'm really playing basketball. P.S. The story of a boy who doesn't know how to play basketball and accidentally falls into his soul. Please be patient as he grows step by step. Group ID, 104-438-3107. Keywords of the novel. I am really playing basketball without pop-ups. I am really playing basketball. Download the complete collection of TXT, and I am really reading the latest chapter on playing basketball. Chapter 1. Focus, protagonist, and that without any sense of existence. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Focus, protagonist, and the non-existent minion. The spring breeze is bleak and desolate. There are not many places in the United States where April feels like November, and Milwaukee is just one of them. The sunrise of spring not only does not bring any warmth to this land, but also makes people feel desolate. The impression left by Milwaukee is mostly cold. However, at this moment, the campus of Milwaukee Marquette University is not so desolate, but rather filled with a different atmosphere. In some boring campuses, energetic college students and knowledgeable professors can be seen shuttling between them everywhere. And among them, outside a venue that is neither remote nor prominent on campus, there is a bustling crowd. Both old and new students at Marquette University know where this mediocre and slightly dull venue is. It is the training ground for the Marquette University men's basketball team. At this moment, Tim Barkley, assistant coach of the Marquette University Golden Eagles, is leading the basketball team's recruitment. It is not surprising that American prestigious universities like Marquette University have many sports teams, and the recruitment of basketball teams has such a grand scene. Although Marquette University has not made it to the NCAA championship for 4 years, even though it made it to the NCAA championship in 1997, it was ultimately beaten 81.59 by Providence University led by Austin Clohill and Jamal Thomas. However, prestigious schools are prestigious schools, and NCAA champions are champions. In NCAA, there may be situations where players in shallow water are caught in a shrimp game, while those in a tiger's downfall are bullied by dogs. For example, NCAA historical champions like Marquette University are brutally defeated by an unknown team for over 20 points in the championship. However, it is impossible for a proud cat to surpass a tiger and a destitute phoenix to surpass a chicken in NCAA. No matter how strong the cat is, if it has never won a championship, then it is still the cat. No matter how low the phoenix is, as long as there is an NCAA championship, then it is still a dazzling phoenix. Mao Xiong has been playing for a season without winning the championship. After these players graduated and left, of course, Mauer is still a Mauer. Phoenix has been struggling for a season. As long as it has the championship and status as a prestigious school, it can still attract high-quality talents to join next season, so Phoenix will naturally remain Phoenix. Of course, the current Marquette University and the Marquette University led by legendary coach McGuire are no longer on the same page, and this is also a fact. Madman coach Al McGuire led McGuire University to reach the NCAA championship for 11 consecutive seasons from 1966 to 1977, what a glorious achievement. The team led by the head coach of the Madman, with strong defense and a tough style, made the entire NCAA tremble with fear. That was the most glorious period for this team, and it also laid the foundation for the Golden Eagle spirit that this team has always been proud of. Compared to that period of history back then, Marquette University today is somewhat desolate. Isn't it just loneliness? It has been 25 years since crazy coach McGuire led the team to win the championship in 1977, and then resigned and left. During this period, Marquette University's best result was reaching the third round of the championship, which was Sweet 16, and only twice. Most of the time, Marquette University either eliminated in the first round or did not even qualify for the first round. It can be said that Marquette University is definitely one of the most miserable championship teams in the NCAA right now. From the glory of the past to the present, not only have the results not improved, but even the team has always been proud of the Golden Eagle spirit. It seems like they are going to be lost recently. The rookie head coach Tom Klein, who was hired by the team 2 years ago, wanted to be a rebel. This young coach in his 30s is different from most former head coaches at Marquette University. Tom Klein did not repeat the path of replicating legends from failed coaches, but instead brought an attacking style to Marquette. While the NBA was still trembling under the dominance of O'Neal Duncan and the big players in the interior, Klein surprisingly shifted the team's focus outward at NCAA in Marquette University. During his 2 years at Marquette University, Klein's main recruitment focus was on talented perimeter players. Internally, defensively, whether in the NBA or NCAA, this is widely recognized as the right path to success. To succeed, there must be one or the other, not to mention everything. And as soon as Tom Klein took office, he embarked on a path that is now believed to never lead to success. There is neither an inside line nor an attack. This is very frustrating for supporters of Marquette University. And what made them even more frustrated was that the talented outsider recruited by Klein with high hopes last year was actually mentally disabled in terms of learning ability. The perfect score for academic exams is 36 points, and as long as you score 17 points in one attempt, you are considered qualified. That outsider genius has taken the exam so many times, but he has not passed even one attempt. Finally, for a whole season, I could only sit on the bench. The lack of trust from supporters, the talent recruited by the team seems to be an intellectual disability. The team has lost its tradition, and the results have not improved. The entire Marquette University basketball team seems to be on a path of internal and external troubles, going further and further. So, the whole team seemed to be a bit panicked. Now, no one knows where the newbie head coach who challenges tradition and the intellectually disabled talents he recruits will lead the team. In fact, with just the results of these 2 seasons at Marquette University, if it were in the 1980s or 1990s, Klein would have been gone long ago. I haven't made it to the championship for 2 consecutive years, and the talent I recruited is still unable to play due to performance issues. The team is also facing internal and external difficulties, and Klein, like those short-lived coaches at Marquette University, will be mercilessly kicked out by the team. It can only be said that during the 25 years at Marquette University, the lower limit in the middle has long been lowered to the point where it cannot be further lowered. So much so that even though Klein's start may not have been successful, it doesn't seem to be the worst in the 25-year history, and this also allowed Klein to hold on to his position. However, the head coach of Marquette University, Tom Klein, is still under a lot of pressure. And as his assistant, Tim Barkley certainly did the same. Tim Barkley attaches great importance to the recruitment he is hosting. The talented players who receive full scholarships recruited by the team are recruited by the head coach and have nothing to do with him. The main strength of the team is also these talented players. However, this does not mean that other players are not important. How many talents in a team with 12 players and full scholarships are there in total? They represent most of the team's strength, but the remaining players are also very important. Marquette University is not as prestigious as top universities like Duke, North Carolina. The substitutes for these teams are all composed of talented high school students, even 5-star high school students. It should be noted that Marquette University's current appeal is limited to around 44-star high school students in the United States, such as Travis Dina. Even for Dina, he was invited by head coach Klein because he is a native of Wisconsin. Generally, the top 50 high school students are not interested in Marquette University. People are really infuriating when compared to others. Not to mention being a 5-star high school student willing to come as a substitute. After learning that Dina had chosen to join Marquette University, another local genius, Devin Harris, directly refused Marquette University's invitation and chose to join another local university, the University of Wisconsin. After obtaining Dina, Marquette University has already had 3 fully funded players on the field, and Devin Harris doesn't want to come here as a substitute. Devin Harris is the Wisconsin Basketball Player of the Year this year, but he did not make it into the top 100 in the United States. A typical genius who did not make it to the top 100 in the United States is unwilling to come to Marquette University as a substitute, which is the attraction of Marquette University. Compared to North Carolina Duke, apart from being NCAA champions, everything else is vastly different. North Carolina wants Harris and Dina to have both easily. But Marquette University can only choose between 2. In the end, Klein chose Dina. After all, Dina's 3-point and shooting skills are indeed impressive, which is what the team needs now. And Harris has it, and the intellectually disabled genius on the team has it. It is precisely because of this that Marquette University needs to live a meticulous life, and the team's strength requires the support of these ordinary students. North Carolina Duke doesn't care about recruiting ordinary students, and the team doesn't need the blood of ordinary students to support it, but Marquette University can't. This year, there are still more people watching the excitement and fewer joining. Tim Barkley looked around and pointed out the bustling crowd, then looked at the people who had joined in terms of population size. It is simply disproportionate. However, this is also normal. American universities are typically easy to enter but difficult to exit, and Marquette University is at least a prestigious institution with high standards. Basketball enthusiasts without a certain level of talent and ability really don't need to waste time personally participating. Last season, Pat Duffy, the last player on the team's bench, played for the team for 2 years with 12 players. After the end of last season, he applied to head coach Klein to lead the team. Over the course of 2 years, Duffy played a total of 20 games, averaging 0.3 points, 0.3 rebounds, and 0.1 assists per game. From a data perspective, the average playing time and average playing time per game are unbearable, right? It is indeed unbearable. But Duffy is already a very talented player among ordinary people. For the entire Marquette University, among the tens of thousands of students, there are no more than 20 who are stronger in basketball than Duffy. This also includes players from Marquette University. Duffy is a lackey with no presence at NCAA, but at Marquette University, he is the king of passers-by. I really don't have the strength, but I can't make it to the 12-person list at Marquette University. As the king of passers-by, Duffy's results in NCAA competitions are like this, and others need to think about their own choices. Fortunately, although there are many spectators and few participants, there are still some very good seedlings this year. Todd Townsend, standing 2.01 meters tall, looks quite skilled and knows everything. And the physical talent looks quite good, just a little slimmer, but there's no problem being a substitute rotation player in the NCAA. There's Kevin Maynard, 1.98 meters, 95 kilograms. He doesn't seem to have three-pointers or good shooting skills, but he's quite burly and his strength doesn't seem much worse than Duffy who left. Tim Barkley's eyes were constantly sparkling with joy and excitement. Especially when I saw the rebellious figure that caused waves of exclamation, with a slightly emaciated figure and a face completely mismatched with his emaciated figure. After a spirited dunk by this rebellious young man, the whole field was boiling. This bounce, this dunk. This is a genius who can participate in NBA trials. Not to mention the boiling ordinary audience next to him, even Tim Barkley, who is used to watching NCAA Genius Crossing, applauded along with the lively audience around him. Very impressive. Indeed, it is the NCAA championship of Marquette University. Even without the participation of key players in today's training, it was quite exciting. These substitute players from competing teams are all so impressive. How strong should the main players from those teams be? Cordell Henry, Scott Merritt, and Ama Anamika, these key players of the team are all star players in the C.USA League. Unfortunately, the team's top star Brian Waddell has already graduated from his senior year and is currently busy with the draft. You can't get a close-up view of his talent. Waddell is a star player in the entire NCAA, and there is a legend circulating in the NCAA that C.USA has a double wall outside. Waddell and Bobby Simmons are indeed one of the few NCAA-level star-level outfielders in the C.USA League who can stand out, and their current draft predictions seem to have a chance for both to enter the NBA. NBA, that's really amazing, but this year we may see another player with the potential to enter the NBA on the team. Are you saying Tenavis Dina? He is one of the top 44 star high school students in the United States, and his potential is higher than Waddell's. You know, this year Wisconsin's basketball star, Devin Harris, didn't even make it to the top 100. Dina can be said to be one of the highest-ranked geniuses in the history of Marquette University. After watching these newcomers' performances this year, I can't wait to see Travis Dina's performance next season. Travis Dina. Ron Howard, who came down from the basket, snorted coldly. This is the person who will compete with him for the team leader next season. Since the media started ranking high school students in the United States, Dina has been one of the highest-ranked geniuses recruited by Marquette University. Ron Howard's eyes were somewhat solemn. Why did he refuse so many scholarships from ordinary universities to come to Marquette University? It's because Marquette University's top star Waddell graduated in his senior year and the position of team leader was vacant. And the remaining players, whether it's the second Henry or the intellectually disabled genius who hasn't played for a year, are not seen by him. Henry has average talent, and that intellectual disability that guy was still able to compete with him last year. That intellectually disabled person also did not make it into the top 100 in the United States, just like him. The two have similar talents. However, he is now slowly rising, and that intellectual disability has not played games for a whole year. It can be said that he came to Marquette University in preparation to seize the top position and seek NBA opportunities through the platform of prestigious universities. Unexpectedly, Dina, one of the top 40 high school students in the United States, would accept an invitation from Marquette University. Previously, Marquette University was indeed qualified to deserve such a level of genius, but now, how can Marquette University have such an attraction? Top 40 in the United States. This ranking may be tough enough to go to North Carolina, but isn't it good for UCLA, Kentucky, Kansas, and Connecticut? Unfortunately, Illinois State and even the University of Washington are better than Marquette University. After arriving at Marquette University, he didn't know what to say when he received this news. So, is Dina also a mentally disabled person? Or is it the head coach of Marquette University, that rookie head coach, Tom Cryon, who has too strong recruitment ability? Anyway, now that everything is done, he has no choice. And even if it's the top 40 in the United States, what about it? He is not afraid of any challenges. After Waddell graduated, the entire Marquette University had no players he admired except for Dina. The main players at Marquette University are not worth it, let alone those who are currently on the field with him, just like him, trying out new students here. He casually showed his hands, taking away all the focus of the field, and everyone else seemed to have become minions. In the face of envy, jealousy, admiration, or goodwill, Ron Howard treated it as if he had not seen it, as if he had nothing. What a proud kid. Watching Ron Howard's arrogant and rebellious behavior, Tim Barkley felt a slight headache. Ron Howard, a Chicago native from Illinois, is 1.96 meters and 83 kilograms tall. He is an all-around defender and, except for his slightly lighter weight, has excellent basketball talent and skills. Compared to his basketball abilities and talents, his IQ is also quite high. He graduated from Whitney Young High School in Chicago, 5th in Chicago and one of the most outstanding public high schools in the United States. You should know that the strongest public high school in the United States, except for the top one that was built with the help of the United States, is really a bit of a bug. The second and third best public high schools are all in Chicago. Fifth in all Chicago, basically equivalent to fifth in the United States. It can be said that Ron Howard's learning ability and talent are stronger than his basketball talent. Although his basketball talent did not receive a scholarship invitation from North Carolina Duke, there is no problem for him to pass the exam and receive the scholarship. Although Marquette University is also one of the top 100 universities in the United States, academically, to be honest, it is just a little brother in the United States and has no attraction. Ron Howard gave up on a school like North Carolina, which requires both basketball and academia, to come to Marquette University. If it's not because of the academic appeal of Marquette University, it must be because of Marquette's basketball appeal. However, Marquette's performance over the years has not been very attractive, and the coach is still a rookie, so it is not attractive. The only attraction of the entire Marquette University basketball team is its past history, and the vacant position of this historical team as the leader. Not only pride, but also intelligence. Ron Howard is here for the position and core position of Marquette University. Thinking of this, Tim Barkley's head didn't hurt as much anymore. To obtain the position of team leader and core, strength is the foundation. With strength and good relationships with everyone, one can naturally rise to power. This approach is too slow. If you want to be a good person, you need to endure the qualifications. After all, even if he is the strongest in the team, Dina and other core players are not much worse than him. There is no overwhelming advantage, and there is no reason for others to abdicate and give up their talents. As a freshman, when can he endure until he becomes the boss? In addition, another way to ascend is to conquer everyone with the posture of a great villain. This kind of need to be a big villain right from the beginning, although it may seem annoying, it is straightforward. In fact, in the American basketball industry, this way of promotion is the mainstream, even in the NBA. Isn't it always on the news that a certain football star is scolded by the team leader for being rebellious and foolish? Some of these people may be foolish, but some are not. In the American basketball industry, there is no need to be so gentle, respectful, and frugal. In Tim Barkley's view, a top choice like Ron Howard may also be a good thing for the team. The position of boss is vacant, and it is better for everyone to make conflicts public than to hide them below. Several core players of the team can quickly distinguish between high and low, determine their rankings, and thus advance better. Todd Townsend, Kevin Maynard, Ron Howard, this year's recruitment is really full of surprises. Tim Barkley's expression now is very satisfied. Last year's lineup at Marquette University included 4 players leaving within the boss Waddell, as well as the intellectually disabled genius, who had already passed the exam, and the newly added genius Dina. Marquette University's lineup still had 10 playable players and needed 2 fresh blood. And the addition of these 3 new students can not only bring together the 12-person list of Marquette University, but also create surplus and even competition. All 3 of them have the ability to play at the NCAA level, which means Marquette University will have 13 NCAA-level players available next season. The thickness of this lineup is really not low. Next season, perhaps we can look forward to something. Tim Barkley's gaze has been entirely focused on Ron Howard, Kevin Maynard, and Todd Townsend, the 3 most dazzling players in the training ground. Ron Howard took away most of his gaze. The remaining gaze was on Kevin Maynard and Todd Townsend. As for the other newcomers on the training ground, no one paid attention at all. After all, it's not at the same level. This kind of atmosphere on the field makes other players who come for trial very frustrated and helpless. Since it's playing, who wouldn't want to shine brightly? However, there are exceptions to this. For Chen Xiao, he really likes this atmosphere. Especially those players who were originally eager to show off after seeing the performance of these 3 people, like him, stood there with a basketball and watched their performance with a cold eye, which even made Chen Xiao breathe a sigh of relief. If it weren't for these 3 people being too dazzling, he would probably have become an outsider on the field. Finally, the mission is likely to fail, right? I thought everyone was a fan, but I didn't expect there to be 3 geniuses in this season. However, I didn't have much hope and wouldn't be too disappointed. So, I joined the basketball team and participated in a 6-month training camp, experiencing the atmosphere of NCAA up close. That's right, at least until the official training camp of the team starts in October, we will still be players from Marquette University. Besides, if it weren't for these 3 super geniuses, we would have to go through team testing and compete with each other before joining the team. This competition test doesn't need to be done, we can just join the team. There's no way, these 3 people are really strong. If you don't accept them, you can't. Listening to the admiration around him, Chen Xiao couldn't help but nod, appearing as if he had become a part of the crowd. If he appeared in martial arts novels now, he would be a servant next to the protagonist with an exclamation expression. But is this basketball? Is this the genius of the basketball industry? Chen Xiao felt the impact of this sport up close for the first time. Even someone like him who doesn't understand basketball at all can feel the impact of the 3 of them. That body, that technique, that oppression, that lightning-fast transformation, really amazing. And even more impressive is that Marquette University has even more powerful geniuses than them. What kind of terrifying presence would NCAA's even more powerful geniuses be? What kind of appearance are those top talents in the NBA? The strength of the basketball world is so terrifying. Chen Xiao withdrew his gaze from the shining trio and lowered his head to look at the basketball in his hand. And I actually play basketball. After resting for a month and a half, a new book has arrived. It has not been signed yet, and the tipping function has not been activated yet. However, there is no problem with collecting and recommending. Please collect and recommend. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. My name is Chen Xiao, I really love basketball. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 3. The Rare Beasts of Marquette University. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. The Rare Beasts of Marquette University. Don't look at the ball, switch sides, then change hands, one in and one out, lower the center of gravity, and then accelerate the speed. The speed is too slow. Do you still want to learn crotch dribbling without even mastering the most basic single-handed dribbling rhythm changes? Next move, cross dribbling. Continue to lower the center of gravity, let your body move with the rhythm of the ball's racket, and maintain the height of the ball. Rhythm. 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 The ball fell again, start over. The training center of Marquette University, the first training session for new players, ended with various tests and assessments for each new player. The team's head coach Tom Crane, assistant coach Tim Barkley, and the new players all turned their attention to Chen Xiao and Ron Howard. It's not because Ron Howard's voice is too loud, but because such basic dribbling scenes appear at the NCAA training ground are really rare and rare. I have never seen such basic dribbling training in a training center since I was 12 years old. I am 11 years old. When I was 11 years old, my buddy's enlightenment coach and I wouldn't be teaching us dribbling like this anymore. I didn't expect to see such a nostalgic scene in a place like NCAA, hee. In the basketball industry in the United States, because basketball is too developed, it has basically formed a huge industry chain. In the growth process of players, there is a focus on learning at every age stage, such as ball sense and dribbling training, which is basically completed before the age of 12. This is the responsibility of the enlightenment coach. Enlightenment coach, high school coach, college coach, NBA coach. The enlightenment coach is responsible for this foundational teaching. As a high school coach, one has already begun to engage in other techniques, tactics, or professional reinforcement training methods. High school is like this, let alone NCAA. Even the worst player in the NCAA First Division League, when placed outside, is still a player of the King of Passengers level. Such players certainly do not need to be taught any one-sided dribbling, alternate dribbling, or crotch dribbling. This non-confrontational dribbling, even a super center like O'Neal, can't slip away, let alone other forwards or defenders. Precious beast. This kid is simply a treasure of Marquette University. I don't know who shouted it out, but for a moment, both the players and the coach around me nodded frantically. The beast of Marquette University. This nickname is very appropriate. Chen Xiao, who was practicing dribbling with Ron Howard, had no idea that he had just earned his first nickname. Rare beasts. Tom Crane's eyes lit up, and he also felt that the nickname was very appropriate. NCAA players are mostly mature players aged 18 and above. Such players have a basketball foundation. Even if Duncan and Elijah practice basketball late, by the time they reach college, their basketball foundation is already very good. A basketball amateur like Chen Xiao, who has no foundation in college, is definitely the only NCAA player, perhaps a unique presence in the history of NCAA. In the eyes of everyone, Chen Xiao now probably cherishes him as much as a cute giant panda. Tom Crean can clearly feel the kindness that these players around him carry when giving Chen Xiao this nickname. The Beast of Marquette University is not a malicious nickname, on the contrary, it is quite well intentioned. In the United States, there are not many things that can be called precious animals, but specifically in China, perhaps only giant pandas. Americans love giant pandas because they look very cute, clumsy, and lack any aggression. Just like Chen Xiao now. Chen Xiao is a basketball beginner who accidentally sneaked into the NCAA. In this clumsy beginner, everyone sees the shadow of their past basketball enlightenment, and similarly, this beginner will not pose any competition or threat to anyone's position on the team. This is a completely harmless player. Within Marquette University, perhaps all the players and teammates around are competitors, except for this Marquette University treasure. In such a fiercely competitive atmosphere, why retaliate with malice when there is someone who can bring memories, happiness, and is completely harmless to oneself? As for disdaining his strength, if he is someone who has studied basketball for 10 years, it is certain that he will be looked down upon. But he is a beginner. Didn't everyone do this when they first started learning basketball? That's all for today's training. Ha! Is it over? Chen Xiao, who was still working hard on dribbling and thinking about continuing to complete Ron Howard's release task, had a slightly stunned expression on his face. Ding! Ron Howard's dribbling training task failed to complete, and the host was unable to meet Ron Howard's dribbling training requirements without any reward. The pop-up text in front of Chen Xiao completely brought him back to reality. Failed again. Unfortunately, I am also very reluctant. Seeing the expression on Chen Xiao's face, Ron Howard, who had no intention of saying anything, hesitated for a moment before. Dribbling training may be simple, but it shouldn't be rushed. As a beginner, you need to learn how to progress step by step. Moreover, basketball training. Unless you die, basketball training doesn't really come to an end, and it can be done all the time on the training ground, on the road, in the dormitory, anywhere. Unless you die, basketball training never really ends. Chen Xiao was stunned for a moment, and his gaze towards the cold-faced black man in front of him also changed slightly. Okay, so dazzling, light, I see him shining. Don't be distracted, now I'll teach you off-court ball sense training. Yes. Chen Xiao nodded seriously. Ding, Ron Howard is releasing an off-court ball training task for you. To complete 10 consecutive sets of wrist flips and hand presses, 10 sets of hands throwing and receiving the ball, 10 sets of hands throwing and hitting the ball in front of the chest, and 10 sets of hands circling the ball around the waist, calves, and head in 1 day for 4 minutes. Task reward: 50 basketball experience points, 1 breakthrough experience card. Informal competition. Did you publish the task again? Do you understand the various training points? I understand. Ron Howard glanced at Chen Xiao somewhat unexpectedly, then grabbed the basketball in his hand and turned around to leave the training center. Although Ron Howard taught a lot, he seemed to have truly understood everything. Am I really talented? Or have I improved my memory and become more sensitive to basketball after receiving the system? With Ron Howard's departure, the entire training facility at Marquette University seemed to come to life again. The new players who were originally watching the excitement on the side actually all gathered around Chen Xiao. Looking at the mighty black figure, Chen Xiao instinctively took a step back after regaining his senses. Is he going to be bullied in a foreign land today, an 18-year-old boy who has just left the country? Wait. Looking at the expressions on these faces, it seems that these people are not trying to bully themselves. Shouldn't it be bullying oneself? The coach is still here. And these guys all have that harmless smile on their faces. Ron Howard, that guy, actually gave you all the ball sense training moves in one go. I don't think there are many geniuses like him in this world. Boy, are you okay? Did Ron Howard hit you? Even if you don't understand, it's okay. It took me half a month to learn these movements that Ron Howard taught you today. Todd, that's you. We ordinary people are proficient in mastering these movements, but it took us a month. Is it so difficult? Also, these people are now, stop, don't undermine the confidence of the precious beast. You were only a few years old at that time, and the precious beast is now 18 years old. You will definitely get started much faster. Treasure beast, don't listen to them. At your age, learning basketball may be a lot tiring, but after learning it, playing basketball will really be enjoyable. Playing basketball, will you really be happy? Chen Xiao, whose face was still covered in circles, mechanically tilted his head and looked at his big black hand on his shoulder. He realized that these people were not trying to bully him, they seemed to be making friends with him. Wait. I won't say anything about friends for now. Jen, who is the precious beast? Boy, it's you, Mr. Beast from Marquette University, ha ha ha. On his shoulders were a pair of big hands. And Chen Xiao, amidst the laughter of the entire training hall, became chaotic during the new book period. Please recommend and collect. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. The System of Shaking People. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. The System of Shaking People. The teammates at Marquette University were very friendly, unusually friendly, so friendly that Chen Xiao felt numb all over. He now understands that these teammates treat him like a pet in the team, a furry toy like a giant panda. I, Chen Xiao, am also a dignified 8-foot man. How could I be a precious beast? Facing his current position in the team, Chen Xiao is quite displeased. In the southern part of China, with a height of nearly 1.8 meters, he can definitely be considered a graceful and elegant, great man. However, thinking of the big guys who had just hooked up with him, Chen Xiao finally sighed when he returned to the dormitory. Compared to these big guys who are close to 2 meters, his big guy, who is close to 1.8 meters, does have a slight odor. In fact, he can accept things like team pets, precious beasts, and so on. Although he may be a bit resentful, compared to others, these big guys are indeed qualified to say such things about him, and these people really have no malicious intent. What really makes him feel the most uncomfortable is these guys are all curious why he came to Marquette University as a basketball amateur with zero foundation. Seeing these guys so curious, coupled with their friendliness towards him, Chen Xiao is certainly telling the truth. I hope to one day be able to enter the NBA. Enter the NBA, make big money, and change the fate of surpassing my sister and everyone in the village. Not to mention the back, just say the front. Chen Xiao felt that when he was saying these words, his eyes were definitely shining, and the expression on his face was absolutely sacred. After all, this is him swearing in his new dream to this world. Perhaps there is some shame. But people are not ashamed to waste their youth. However, what made Chen Xiao dumbfounded was that after he finished speaking so seriously, all the big people next to him burst into laughter after a moment of silence. Laugh at your surpassing sister. Xiao Yi is serious. Little one, do you know what the NBA means to basketball players? That is the highest hall of dreams for all basketball players in the world. There are hundreds of millions of basketball enthusiasts, hundreds of thousands of professional basketball players, and thousands of geniuses all over the world who dream of it. Ron Howard is already a super genius for us, right? But for the NBA, he may not even be able to touch the threshold. Not just Ron Howard, but even former Marquette University boss Brian Waddle may not be able to touch the NBA threshold. This is NBA, the most beautiful and cruel dreamland. And why do you touch this blood-red pure land? At that time, Chen Xiao did not immediately express his displeasure after being mocked for expressing his feelings, mainly because he was intimidated by Todd Townsend. Todd Townsend, this tall guy over 2 meters, was really oppressive just now. Boy, don't worry, Todd has no malicious intent. He just told you in a more direct way how far the NBA is for people like us. The NBA is the moon, and we are just fireflies longing for the moon. No matter how fanned our wings are, we can't get up without the help of spaceships. Of course, although we are all fireflies, as long as our wings still flap, perhaps we can really wait for our own spaceship. So, boy, calm down. Todd was so excited just now when he saw the shadow of us when we were 11 or 12 years old in you. At that time, just like you, our eyes would also shine. Ha ha ha, yes Kevin, on the basketball court, it's rare to see someone who's already 18 years old and hasn't learned to accept reality. Little one, looking at the light in your eyes makes me miss it, and it's also heartbreaking, ha ha ha. Chen Xiao was once again intimidated by the 2-meter old man's tearful laughter. Todd, your words have caused ambiguity again. Boy, don't worry about what Todd says. Keep going and cherish your current mindset. Our most adorable treasure at Marquette University. Kevin Maynard waved his sleeve without taking away a single cloud, but it made Chen Xiao's mood slightly dull. He's not a fool, he doesn't know what Kevin Maynard and Todd Townsend mean by these words. As an outsider who accidentally entered the basketball world, before today, his understanding of basketball and the NBA was almost entirely superficial. In today's recruitment, he was deeply impressed by Ron Howard, Todd Townsend, and Kevin Maynard as a layman. Their skills, their impact, and visible basketball strength are not at the same level as ordinary people. In his mind, these are all absolute geniuses. The existence he admires is just like his former academic achievers who see bioengineering as dirt and can easily be admitted to prestigious civil engineering schools. But that's the kind of person, tell him they're just fireflies talking nonsense. Even a genius at a higher level than these two, Ron Howard, although he is not familiar with Ron Howard, what he sees from him is the heaviness, rather than the inevitability and ease of the NBA's momentum. NBA, is it really that difficult? Can I really enter the NBA with the help of this inexplicable system, win big contracts, make big money, and change the fate of surpassing my sister and the villagers? I'm already 18 years old, is there still hope? Give up basketball now. When this basketball system doesn't exist, study hard and make progress every day, shouldn't it be too late? Just as Chen Xiao was seriously pondering, the newspaper he posted on the dormitory wall filled with NBA star salaries was so dazzling and heart-stirring. I know nothing about basketball, but this inexplicable system has chosen me. If it weren't for this system being blind, would it really be possible for me to play basketball? Whether it's self-comfort or anything else, Chen Xiaojiang's mood just now has improved a lot from being hit by those guys. Although those teammates are friendly, they are not friendly to their partners or comrades in arms, but more like friendly to pets and toys. These guys really don't consider Xiao Ye's mood. Thinking of this, Chen Xiao gritted his teeth again. It is unknown whether he can enter the NBA in the future. But he must make these teammates who treat him like a pet and a precious beast stand out. I am your teammate and comrade, not a plaything for you to adjust your mood and vent your emotions. Chen Xiao successfully shifted his goal from entering the NBA, making big money, and changing the fate of the village to gaining recognition from his teammates, treating him as a true comrade and partner. However, with my current strength, even this goal is not easy, is it? They said that their distance from the NBA is Firefly and Bright Moon, and now I am also Firefly and Bright Moon from them, right? Thinking of this, Chen Xiao looked at the system, the existence that changed his dreams and destiny. After scrolling through Ron Howard's tasks, there are now a bunch of prompts on the system's task panel. For the sake of focus, Chen Xiao skipped all of Ron Howard's training tasks directly. What is the key point? Of course it's the initial task of the system. Ding, initial task of the system. Join a basketball team and start your basketball career. Task reward. Obtain rewards based on the overall strength of the basketball team you have joined. Ding, the host has successfully joined the first-tier NCAA league team, the Marquette University Golden Eagles. The comprehensive strength evaluation of the Marquette University Golden Eagles is D.level, a top NCAA team, and the host's task completion rate is D.level. D.level, NCAA top team. When he saw this, Chen Xiao was a bit dumbfounded. Although he is not familiar with NCAA, based on today's understanding, it seems that Marquette University's evaluation of NCAA is not as high, right? At best, it is a non-seeded strong team ranked around 100 in the entire NCAA. The kind that cannot even enter the NCAA championship. If Marquette University is a top NCAA team, what are CUHK, UCLA, and Kansas? What is even North Carolina Duke? Top of the earth. The top of the universe. Is this system really reliable? Or is it true that Marquette University is actually very strong, and has been led into a ditch by head coach Tom Klein? Chen Xiao opened his eyes wide. He actually really liked the head coach of Marquette University. After all, he didn't kick him out as a guy who had mixed in. Otherwise, he wouldn't even be able to complete the task. Chen Xiao shook his head and didn't continue to daydream. Anyway, his task was finally completed. Chen Xiao continued to read along the task panel interface of the system. Ding, congratulations to the host for completing the initial system task. Ding, this task is the only career task, with a completion level of +1. Ding, this task is the first time the host has completed it, with a completion level of +1. Ding, congratulations to the host for receiving B.level career task rewards. Career value 1000, height and arm span +1 cm, and a scoring experience card, non-competitive. Ding, congratulations to the host for completing the initial task. The personal attributes panel has been opened. Please pay attention to the query. Name. Chen Xiao. Age. 18. Height. 1.80 meters. Arm span 1.85 meters. Weight. 70 kilograms. Occupation. Basketball player. Occupation level. LV 12, 1000/1150, remaining occupation points. 12 basketball experience. 40 basketball skills. None props. 1 scoring experience card, non-competitive, and 2 breakthrough experience cards, non-competitive. Personal attributes. Speed. 65 plus, 70, explosive power. 65 plus, 70, bounce. 50 plus, 60, flexibility. 60 plus, 70, balance. 50 plus, 60, endurance. 55 plus, 65, player evaluation. A basketball player without any basketball skills. Is this my current attribute? This is the first time Chen Xiao has seen this property panel after obtaining the system. I won't say anything about strength for now. How do you feel that this attribute is a bit lacking? Why are they all physical? What are the attributes of basketball? Chen Xiao is a bit dumbfounded. Although I don't know how to play basketball, can't you really cut off all my basketball attributes? How do I play with this? System, UTM, no, civilization, we need civilization system, are you shaking me when you surpass your sister? Believe it or not, I'll throw Xiaoyue's sister in your face and use crazy grabbing on you. During the new book period, there will be 2 updates per day for now. As we have not yet signed a contract, we cannot offer any rewards. Please do not hesitate to collect and recommend tickets to Smash the Fisherman. Please collect and recommend tickets. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Chen Xiao, a student who loves brain supplements. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Chen Xiao, a student who loves brain supplements. In order to complete the first task of the system, Chen Xiao invested a lot. This is not just about making him pretend to have no sense of existence and act like a trap to deceive the team's assistant coach Tim Barkley, who is responsible for recruiting new players. Do you think Marquette University's assistant coach, who is a veteran of the football industry, is so easy to deceive? Do you think it's just enough not to talk about football ethics? If you want Tim Barkley to be careless and not dodge after eating his surprise attack, you still need him, Chen Xiao, to be prepared. Ankle protection, knee protection, wrist protection, finger protection, sneakers, socks, jerseys, braces, and other equipment were all neatly worn by Chen Xiao during the trial training, and in order to make himself look professional, Chen Xiao did not buy new ones. Except for equipment such as braces, all other equipment purchased is second-hand and worn out. In addition, in order to look professional and cope with the somewhat cold and piercing environment of Milwaukee, Chen Xiao never forgot his tight-fitting clothes and pants. In addition, Chen Xiao originally came from a rural background. Although he looks handsome, he is not one of the urban children in China, and wearing a yellow robe does not look like an emperor. The ancient bronze skin on Chen Xiao's body and the traces of wind and frost on his somewhat immature face make him look like a professional who has undergone very hard professional training and regular physical exercise. It can be said that in this surprise attack on Tim Barkley, Chen Xiao has achieved perfection in every detail. Chen Xiao feels that he just needs to shave his head and wear a headband. During the day, when Chen Xiao was standing in the training hall, Tim Barkley, no matter how old he was, would be looked at. And all these preparations that made Tim Barkley stand out were in US dollars. Although they are all old, they also cost Chen Xiao over $500 US. $500. Chen Xiao gritted his teeth and felt heartbroken just thinking about it. Chen Xiao came to the United States to study abroad, and all the money he had was raised by the villagers. No matter how kind the villagers are, everyone is poor. With the money they raised, they spent almost half of it on buying a plane ticket from China to the United States. For these basketball equipment, there is now not much money left that the village has raised for him. Fortunately, he came to Marquette University to receive a full scholarship, and with the aid of a scholarship, he did not need to pay tuition fees during his freshman year. He also had a small monthly living allowance and was able to live in the school dormitory without spending money on accommodation. In American universities, not everyone can live in dormitories, as there are more monks and less meat, so it is necessary to apply. Except for the school's mandatory requirement to stay in the dormitory during the freshman year, other grades who want to live and cannot apply are not allowed to move in. Moreover, dormitories are not free, although cheaper than outside, they are not that cheap either. Of course, Chen Xiao's full scholarship includes 1 year of free accommodation. It can be said that Chen Xiao came to Marquette University to study abroad, and his full scholarship can only guarantee him a worry-free academic year. But in the second academic year, if he still wants these benefits, he will have to show his grades. So, when leaving the village, facing the worried eyes of the villagers, he confidently patted his chest and promised, "If I lose to those Americans in reading, there's no need for Uncle to pick me up. Everyone prepare dinner for me and I'll swim back from the Pacific." Very confident. If he is fully committed to studying, he is indeed confident that he can continue to receive a full scholarship. It's not that he boasted, his learning ability is still good. The focus is also very good. In order to study in the United States and change his destiny, he developed a fluent English in China. Of course, in addition to his good learning ability and sufficient focus, he also benefits from the fact that Jiangsu province is relatively developed compared to other provinces in China, and the school's faculty and environment are very good. But now, since he wants to devote himself to the basketball industry, it is obviously impossible for him to focus on learning. It is basically impossible for him to obtain a scholarship through learning next academic year. It would be great if he didn't fail the course. He is a novice basketball player, and he will spend a lot of time on basketball in the future. He doesn't have that much time to learn. And bioengineering is so difficult after all. It is a discipline that will dominate the 21st century in the future and can make a lot of money. It is normal for such a discipline to leave people learning bald. It's fair to exchange hair for money. Devoted to basketball, Chen Xiao lacks confidence in defeating those ruthless people who repay money with their hair in his studies. He can only obtain a full scholarship next academic year through his achievements in sports and basketball. If you achieve nothing in your basketball career thinking of this, Chen Xiao's face showed a solemn expression after greeting the system with his sister Chaoyue. In order to complete this task and start his basketball career to make big money, he paid not only the financial cost of $500, but also the opportunity cost of his future career development. His background means he can't afford to be wrong. But now, he is trying and making mistakes. This is not something that people of his background would have done. It's a dilemma. Thinking of his current situation, Chen Xiao thought of one of the greatest celebrities in Su province, the overlord Xiang Yu. Ba Wang is his idol, and Chen Xiao has heard the story of Ba Wang since he was young. Am I crossing Jiangdong now, or am I waiting for a miracle by the Wujiang River? Now that I'm in Jiangdong, I can still exchange my hair for money when I go back to study bioengineering. However, as soon as the sound appeared in Chen Xiao's mind, it was violently shaken out by him. Haha. I'm thinking about something. Since heaven has smashed this system onto my head, even if the future is in a state of confusion, why should I be so indecisive? There is no miracle in the end, just commit suicide in Wujiang. If there is no courage to commit suicide in Wujiang, how can one achieve the great feat of breaking a teapot and sinking a boat? Chen Xiao is cheering himself up. Fortunately, he is an 18-year-old boy, which is the most courageous and adventurous time in life. The overlord is above, and you also hope that as a backward child in Jiangdong, I don't have to commit suicide in Wujiang in the future, but rather wear a crown and return home in glory, right? After silently reciting a sentence in his heart, Chen Xiao looked back at the system that shook him once again. He has put in so much effort before, and just now his mentality was to hope that the system can take him to the sky. He was still too impatient, too anxious, and too eager for immediate success just now. He returned home in glory and led the villagers towards a moderately prosperous society. After losing the hope of soaring to the sky, Chen Xiao's mind became even clearer now when he looked at the system. Also, we will once again study the meanings of those attributes and numbers in the personal panel of the system. Name: Chen Xiao. Age: 18. Height: 1.80 meters. Arm span: 1.85 meters. Weight: 70 kilograms. Occupation: basketball player. Occupation level: LV 12, 1000/1050, remaining occupation points: 12 basketball experience, 40 basketball skills, none props, 1 scoring experience card, non-competitive, and 2 breakthrough experience cards, non-competitive. Personal attributes: speed 65 plus 70, explosive power 65 plus 70, bounce 50 plus 60, flexibility 60 plus 70, balance 50 plus 60, endurance 55 plus 65. I remember before coming to the United States, my bare foot height was 1.78 meters. In less than a week, it has now increased to 1.8 meters. In addition to completing the initial task and gaining a 1 centimeter increase in height, my height has also naturally increased by 1 centimeter. Can I continue to grow taller naturally in the future? This is also normal. Chen Xiao is just 18 now. Although Chen Xiao doesn't have much knowledge about basketball, he also knows the importance of height in basketball. Because he stood next to those 2-meter-long people in the team, like a little one, oppressed severely. If he comes to the field, he feels that even if he has the skills, facing those tall and big opponents, his skills will be limited, suppressed, and unable to fully exert themselves, right? Now that he is 1.8 meters tall, he should be considered very short on the basketball court. However, since he can still grow naturally in the future, coupled with the height reward of system tasks, his height should not become an obstacle for me on the basketball path, right? After calming down, Chen Xiao continued to look down. Soon, another value in the panel aroused his curiosity. Occupation level LV12. Is this the professional level of a basketball player? I'm not LV01000/10501000. Is it the 1000 career points I received for completing my first initial career task? Is the improvement of professional level related to basketball experience, technical skills, and career points? It seems that in the future, more career tasks like this should be done. And for every level up, I can earn 1 profession point. So I upgraded to level 12 and got 12 profession points. What's the use of these profession points? Chen Xiao continued to look down with confusion and reflection. Compared to professional level and professional points, basketball experience is very intuitive. He now has 40 basketball experience, which he earned by completing 2 Ron Howard tasks. In addition, these 2 tasks also rewarded him with 2 breakthrough experience cards, informal competition, which, along with the other scoring experience card obtained from the initial task, informal competition, lay in the prop bar. What is the use of these 3 cards? Are you sure you want to use the scoring experience card, non-competitive? Okay. Ding, use the scoring experience card, non-competitive, to check the usage environment. Ding, there is no standard available basketball court detected around the host, and the card usage has failed. Are you sure you want to use the breakthrough experience card, non-competitive? Yes. Ding, using the breakthrough experience card, non-game type, to check the usage environment. Ding, there is no standard available basketball court detected around the host, and the card usage has failed. Chen Xiao, who originally wanted to study the usefulness of these 2 props, looked at the bullet box in front of him and was speechless. It seems that these 2 props can only be used on the court. Since it cannot be used, then it cannot be used, and he has no choice. Continue to study other attributes and numbers. Below the props column are his personal attributes. This is the one that shook him the most. I almost knocked him apart just now. He looked at his personal attributes from beginning to end again. Still only having physical attributes. And even in terms of physical attributes, there are only 6. He can be certain that many of his personal attributes are very incomplete, and his physical attributes are definitely not just these 6. Leaving aside physical and other attributes, let's talk about basketball-related attributes. He has been practicing dribbling for so long today, and his dribbling skills are not only strong, but he can at least have a 1, right? But now on the system, there is nothing. Is the attribute value too low for the system to display? Chen Xiao opened his eyes wide. It seems that there is really such a possibility. For example, these 6 body attributes have a minimum value of balance of 50. Is it necessary to reach at least 50 before they will be displayed on the system's personal panel? Will the system not display until it reaches 50? It seems that it may really be like this. Perhaps after unraveling the mystery of the property panel, Chen Xiao was very happy. The number after the attribute, before the ability, is the potential in parentheses. Can the plus sign that can be clicked after the attribute be added as an attribute? Can I add attributes infinitely, or can I directly add them to potential points? If that's the case, even if there are few types of attributes, it would be good to point all 6 attribute points to the highest possible value. Thinking of this, Chen Xiao became even more excited and then clicked on the plus sign behind the speed. Ding, increasing speed from 65 to 66 requires 66 basketball experience points. Ding, the host's basketball experience is only 40. Do you want to use professional points to forcibly increase? Do you still need conditions to improve attributes? Give up on improving. The system prompt made Chen Xiao, who had been excited by the opportunity to soar again, slightly calm down. Young people just don't have patience and like to soar to the sky. However, upon reflection, this is also normal. There is no free lunch in the world. Professional points can forcibly enhance attributes, while basketball experience can enhance attributes. Although Chen Xiao calmed down a bit, his eyes were constantly flickering with light at this moment. Professional points are not easy to handle. I've only seen a career task, but there are quite a few experience tasks in basketball experience. Today he succeeded twice and failed more than N. What if everything is successful? That is to say, as long as I can continuously complete tasks posted by Ron Howard or others and gain enough basketball experience, I can quickly become stronger by adding points. It's really exciting to think about it. Chen Xiao's calm and young heart has become a bit restless again. These attributes that he had just disliked seem to have become somewhat cute. These lovely numbers showed him a bright future and he returned home in glory. Wait. Just as Chen Xiao kept scanning over these cute attribute numbers, the excited expression on his face, which seemed to have thought of something, suddenly turned into shock. False, hypothetical, I'm just saying hypothetical. If my other attributes don't even reach 50 potential, wouldn't I never be able to train them to the level that the system can display? Then wouldn't I never be able to become stronger by adding points to the system? If there is no potential of 50, then you cannot practice it to 50, and you cannot display it in the system, nor can you add points to enhance it. Chen Xiao now feels like he's sweating a bit from behind. This is just a hypothesis, perhaps the situation is not so extreme. But what if? What if he only has these 6 attributes when playing basketball in the future? Speed, burst, bounce, endurance, balance, agility. Can these 6 attributes make him stand the test on the basketball court? The cold sweat behind Chen Xiao is still constantly rising. Even if he can awaken other attributes in the future. But there are always attributes that cannot be awakened, right? For example, with shooting attributes, won't he never be able to shoot accurately in the future? Iron King Reserve. What's even more terrifying is not the shooting attribute. For example, dribbling attributes. The most important attribute of playing basketball. Poor dribbling is always a beginner's dribbling attribute. If the dribbling attribute potential is not 50, the system will never be able to awaken the dribbling attribute. Isn't it that he will have to practice dribbling every day in the future, because his potential is limited, and how can he practice without being strong? Other teammates are practicing tactics, strength, and confrontation, but he is always like a beginner, practicing dribbling alone beside him. A treasure on the professional basketball court, forever a beginner at this moment, Chen Xiao felt his soaked clothes blowing particularly cold and desolate in the cold wind of Milwaukee. Treasures on the professional basketball court, forever beginner, rare beasts, beginners, no, no. The shout was loud and sudden, causing Ron Howard next door to shake his hands. With a bang. The broken TV made his originally bad face turn cold like the cold wind in Milwaukee. Hee hee, hee hee, hee 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 hee. During the new book period, I am seeking recommendations, collections, and patience from book enthusiasts. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Suddenly became famous. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Suddenly became famous. Chen Xiao has become famous. The school is still in the registration stage and Chen Xiao has become famous before the school starts. In a way he had never thought of before. The Marquette University Golden Eagles recruited a newcomer on campus this year who didn't know anything about basketball, forcing the Marquette University Golden Eagles to revise their recruitment rules for the first time in decades. No matter if you know how to play basketball or if you can be selected for the Golden Eagles team, come out and run a few laps before being called up by the team. This rule, at first glance, is meant to fill the loopholes of future sneak attackers like Chen Xiao who do not speak of football ethics. Although team head coach Tom Crane comforted Tim Barkley by saying that maybe Chen Xiao is a genius like Olajuwon and Duncan. But let alone Tim Barkley, Tom Crane himself doesn't believe this. Purely to comfort people. Leaving aside external talents such as height and arm span. Just talking about age. Duncan and Olajuwon are 15 years old. Chen Xiao is now 18 years old. 18 years old is an uncle in front of 15 years old. The post-.97 generation has a generation gap in front of the post.00 generation, and they are being hung up and played with. Do you understand? Apart from basketball novices like Chen Xiao, anyone who is engaged in basketball can still not know what Duncan and Olajuwon represent. Duncan and Olajuwon, that will be immortal in the history of basketball in the future. Do you think it's cabbage? It can be said that Chen Xiao has no possibility of becoming Olajuwon and Duncan. It has to be said that although the Marquette University Golden Eagles are currently in their slump, they have already lost most of their halo in the NCAA. On the campus of Marquette University, it is still one of the most prestigious sports teams. Any movement within the team will become the focus of the school newspaper and a hot topic of word-of-mouth on campus. In short, the treasure of the Marquette University Golden Eagles has become the focus and hotspot of Marquette University on this day. How did Chen Xiao discover that he had become the focus and hotspot? Because the next morning when he went to the basketball team for training, he was pointed at by almost everyone around him who met him. Is he the first reserve player in the history of the basketball team who can't even play basketball? I don't even know how to play basketball. How could someone like this get into the Golden Eagles team? If I had known earlier, I would have tried to get in. What's the use of mixing in? Even if you become a reserve player, you can mix into a regular player. You can mix into an NCAA player who can play, and you can also mix into the NBA. That's true. Alas, since Tom Crane became the team's head coach, the Golden Eagles have become increasingly unreliable. Last year, they recruited a mentally disabled person who couldn't even find a way through the back door. This year, they also recruited a beginner who doesn't know anything about basketball. After Waddell left, this year's Golden Eagles team has become even more difficult. Whether it's the difficulty or not, it's best for the Golden Eagles to win one game this season. Let's get out of here with Klein and all the weird guys he's brought in. From childhood to adulthood, Chen Xiao has hardly ever been the center of attention. Especially the focus of the entire school. Being surrounded by so many people all the way is really a headache. Chen Xiao tapped his head with a headache as he pointed and pointed. He doesn't care about such finger pointing. He is afraid that these guidance will put pressure on the school, interfere in the team's affairs, and invite him out of the team. As long as the team's head coach Klein can withstand the pressure and not fire himself, he doesn't care what these people say. Based on his limited understanding of head coach Klein, Klein may not be the kind of person who is easily compromised and easily intervened. In the Golden Eagles team, which is labeled as defensive and inside, playing offense and playing outside, even if Chen Xiao is not familiar with this head coach, he knows that this head coach is definitely an unconventional and ruthless person. Chen Xiao arrived at the team training center with his finger pointing all the way. I thought that after arriving at the team training center, the students pointing and pointing would disappear. But in the end, Chen Xiao realized that he was still naive. When Chen Xiao came to the training center, there was already a circle inside to watch him. In the history of his team, perhaps he was the first beginner player in NCAA history who didn't know anything about basketball. I said there are so many people on the road from the dormitory to the training center so early, and it looks like everyone knows me. It turns out that the people who point at me on the road have the same goal as me, they all come to the training center. The difference is that I came to the training center for training, and they came to watch me, this precious beast. Looking at the increasingly large onlooker team in the training center, Chen Xiao really couldn't help but laugh and cry. With Chen Xiao's arrival, the entire Marquette University Training Center instantly became a sensation. The classmates who came here to watch, the newcomers from Marquette University, and even Ron Howard, who was in a bad mood to practice alone and sullen when he smashed his TV last night, turned their eyes to Chen Xiao. Our Marquette University Golden Eagles' unique Mr. Beast has finally arrived. The students from Marquette University who have been waiting here to watch Chen Xiao for a long time were a little disappointed when they saw Chen Xiao and became excited. In their imagination, Chen Xiao's image should not be like this. This equipment looks neat and professional, it doesn't look like a beginner. Is he really a beginner who doesn't know anything about basketball? Is it necessary to make oneself so professional, so intimidating? He won't be able to join the Golden Eagle team if he doesn't scare people. Chen Xiao ignored the disappointment of these people and put down his bag before stepping into the training ground. Our star is here. Boy, come to our side. Little one, we can also teach you how to dribble. Amidst the noise of pointing and pointing, Chen Xiao faced the commotion of Kevin Maynard and Todd Townsend, among others. Without any hesitation, he walked towards Ron Howard, who had been isolated in the team due to his unruly behavior. Choose Ron Howard. This is not because Ron Howard is strong. He is not a masochist either. He also knows that by giving up Ron Howard and joining Kevin Maynard and his team now, he can better integrate into the goal-scoring team. There are two distinct small groups in the team now, and Ron Howard is the only one. And yesterday he also heard Todd Townsend say that he has a relationship with the intellectually disabled genius who is loved by the head coach and has a position dispute with Ron Howard. I chose Todd Townsend and that intellectually disabled genius. As long as he follows the small group of intellectually disabled geniuses and becomes a team pet and a precious beast obediently in the future, he will not be bullied in any way. But he still chose Ron Howard. Without any hesitation. He doesn't know what the outcome of the boss battle between Ron Howard and that intellectually disabled genius, as well as the team's newly recruited super genius Dina, will be after the team's official players return. He is just a nobody, he doesn't have the qualification to ride a wall. He doesn't know Dina. He also doesn't want to be a pet with that intellectually disabled genius. Although they have no malice, Chen Xiao just doesn't like their attitude towards him. Although he didn't show his pride like Ron Howard did. As an 18-year-old boy who has just received the system, Chen Xiao still has pride in his heart. He doesn't want to be a pistachio now, team pet. He still wants to work hard. So, Ron Howard is his only choice. Although this person looks very difficult to get along with. It doesn't matter if he's not easy to get along with, as long as he's willing to teach himself wholeheartedly. With the goodwill of Todd Townsend, Kevin Maynard, and others, Chen Xiao chose Ron Howard, who had already been isolated by his teammates. Isn't this little one a fool? Todd Townsend and Kevin Maynard looked at each other with a somewhat silly expression. Even Ron Howard was quite dumbfounded when he saw Chen Xiao standing in front of him. Yesterday he taught Chen Xiao as arranged by the coach. Everyone is unfamiliar, and the coach asked him not to take the test. The only one he had free time to teach did not give Chen Xiao a chance to choose. Now Chen Xiao has a chance to choose, but in the end, looking at Chen Xiao's somewhat immature face, Ron Howard put away his silly eyes. Have you completed the task I assigned you yesterday? The voice is still unpleasant, but it's not as cold as yesterday. Chen Xiao was very surprised. Ron Howard was actually quite surprised. The emotions that needed to be vented due to the TV being smashed didn't actually come out to Chen Xiao. According to his own attitude towards Chen Xiao yesterday, standing in front of him now would definitely become his emotional outlet for the TV being smashed. The task assigned by Ron Howard last night was the ball sensation task, requiring Chen Xiao to complete 10 consecutive sets of wrist flips and hand presses within 4 minutes, 10 sets of hands throwing and receiving the ball with their heads up, 10 sets of hands throwing the ball with their chests up and then hitting it high, and 10 sets of hands wrapping around the waist, calves, and head to wrap around the ball. Chen Xiao practiced all these movements last night, but couldn't complete so many sets of movements in 4 minutes. So when faced with Ron Howard's inquiry, Chen Xiao shook his head honestly. Ron Howard was not surprised. Basic ball sensation training movements are not difficult, but they are not as simple in continuity. Chen Xiao probably hasn't even practiced these movements yet. Wait a moment, I'll teach it myself. But now, do you still remember those dribbling moves I taught you yesterday? I remember all those dribbling moves from yesterday, right? He didn't complete the ball sensation training task, which made Chen Xiao feel a bit disappointed, but when it comes to yesterday's dribbling movements, he does remember them all. This makes Chen Xiao very proud. Do I really have that little talent in basketball? Ron Howard looked up and down at Chen Xiao, who was now somewhat satisfied, and his face stiffened again. I'm standing here, using the dribbling techniques I taught you yesterday to break through me. Ron Howard is very serious. Chen Xiao is very dumbfounded. Because, ding, Ron Howard has released a solo task to defeat D+ level player Ron Howard. The task reward includes 50 basketball experience points and a scoring experience card, official game. Ron Howard has released the mission again. And he posted a new task without completing his previous one. And I can also take on this task. That is to say, the same person can send multiple tasks, and I can also take on multiple tasks. Why, are you afraid? Ron Howard looked at Chen Xiao, who was dumbfounded, and raised an eyebrow. Ah, young man. Talking big can be a big loss. Just soon, Ron Howard's eyes widened. Because the kid in front of him who was just dumbfounded just now, when he regained his senses, he was so excited that he really made a face-to-face with him. Tim, I said that kid will come again yesterday. After clearing out the onlookers who looked like they were strolling through a zoo from the training center, Tim Barkley smiled bitterly and shook his head. I saw the figure of that Chinese kid again at the training center today, and he was indeed a bit surprised. This kid actually didn't give up despite the difficulties. Has he not realized yet that this is not the place where ordinary people like him should come? When Tim Barkley, who was smiling bitterly, once again turned his gaze to Chen Xiao and Ron Howard, watching Chen Xiao and Ron Howard stand in that posture, Tim Barkley's eyes are already wide open. He's going to have a 1-on-1 fight with Ron. Tim Barkley's voice trembled slightly. And what about Tom Crane, the head coach of the team next to him? Tom Crane was already dumbfounded before Tim Barkley was dumbfounded. Today's second update, during the new book period, the fisherman seeks everyone's recommended tickets, collects and patiently system. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Experience Card. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Experience Card. Xiao Budian wants to face Ron Howard alone. Can they both fight alone? Chen Xiao was on the 3-point line, and Ron Howard took a step inside. Seeing Chen Xiao and Ron Howard standing in a 1-on-1 position, everyone in the training center's eyes turned to this. They have also seen the world before. However, the scene of these two individuals facing each other is really peculiar. Just a slight analogy will reveal why this is happening. Can you imagine the comical scene of Peak Jordan and elementary school student Kobe fighting alone? The current level of strength gap between Chen Xiao and Ron Howard is probably the same as that of elementary school Kobe and Peak Jordan. Chen Xiao, who has been practicing basketball for a day, is definitely someone who has been beaten by elementary school student Kobe in terms of strength. So, such a scene really shouldn't appear. Xiao Budian has only been practicing dribbling for a day, and he may not have learned all his dribbling moves. How could he dare to stand alone in front of a villain like Ron Howard? Isn't it Ron Howard who forced it? Judging from the two of them postures, it doesn't seem like it. Ron Howard certainly did not force Chen Xiao to face him on point one. In fact, if Chen Xiao had just been a little humble and said that he had forgotten some of his dribbling moves from yesterday and was not proficient enough, he wouldn't have said anything to let Chen Xiao try to pick him up. He will take the opportunity to teach him the movements taught him yesterday in more detail again. Yesterday, due to a bad mood, he taught Chen Xiao seriously, but it was a bit simple and hasty. Even if it's his own talent when he was still a beginner, the Enlightenment coach taught him more seriously. It took him a week to learn the movements taught to Chen Xiao yesterday, and Chen Xiao only needed 1 day. He absolutely doesn't believe it. From the situation he taught Chen Xiao yesterday, it can be seen that Chen Xiao indeed has good learning ability. But his foundation is too poor, he has accumulated too much knowledge, and his good learning ability cannot support him to feel proud now. For the sake of Chen Xiao's kindness, he now needs to teach him some lessons and make him more humble. Even so, Ron Howard never thought that Chen Xiao would actually agree to face him alone. It can also be seen from this how inflated this beginner boy is now. With just a little bit of strength, I began to wonder about the superiority and inferiority of the world. This won't make it to the NBA. Although no matter what, he basically can't make it to the NBA anyway, let him have a little understanding of the cruelty of basketball. Although I have a desire to teach Chen Xiao a lesson now. But now Ron Howard is actually a bit conflicted. I'm not afraid of losing to Chen Xiao in case. He is a good singles player, and his singles skills are very strong. Teach Chen Xiao a lesson and let him know that he is still far behind, this is the goal. But Ron Howard is also afraid of using too much force and directly destroying Chen Xiao's basketball dream. If it were yesterday, he would never mind ruining Chen Xiao's basketball dream. But now thinking of the green smile on Chen Xiao's face when he walked up to him without hesitation, watching Chen Xiao now, his eyes sparkle with a childlike heart for basketball. Ron Howard suddenly realized that Chen Xiao's lesson seemed a bit tricky. Although he has rich experience in solo battles, he has great experience in both weak and strong battles, but he has no experience in solo battles with beginners after his strength is greatly improved. This is not that their strength is not enough. Even NBA stars and superstars cannot control their timing when facing beginners in basketball, and they can't stop it easily, turning their original teaching into a basketball dream of going to TM. This kind of thing is not 1 or 2 anymore. Headache, that's really a headache. Chen Xiao is the weakest solo opponent he has ever encountered, and perhaps the most challenging solo opponent he has ever encountered. This made him quite constrained. Bound hands and feet. Thinking of this, Ron Howard, who still had a cold face on his face, felt a thump in his heart. Since I'm afraid I won't be able to control my hands and accidentally go to TM's basketball dream, why don't I completely restrain my hands? Looking at Chen Xiao, who was eager to try, Ron Howard, who was originally in a defensive position, straightened up and stood up. You are a beginner, and what I want to test is also your dribbling. This time, I won't get started with you or engage in physical confrontation with you. When defending, I only use sliding steps to defend. Regardless of the attacking time, as long as the ball is still in your hands and doesn't fall, you can keep trying to break through me without scoring. After I pass, you will be considered successful in the singles, and dropping the ball will be considered a failure. Chen Xiao is a bit confused. As a beginner, it is normal to not fully understand the terms mentioned by Ron Howard. But perhaps he also heard something, Ron Howard, which greatly reduced the difficulty of his solo competition. And this naturally made Chen Xiao even more excited. Luo Gu is so bright. Luo Gu has already called out. And it seems that he called out quite willingly. Chen Xiao is not really interested in defeating Ron Howard, what he is interested in is completing Luo Ge's task. He is interested in 50 basketball experience points and the scoring experience card. If Luo Gu doesn't release water, he is likely unable to complete the task. After all, he is a beginner, and Rogo is a super player at the D+ level. It can be said that Luo Ge's behavior of releasing water is simply a timely help to his rapid growth, helping him cheat and complete tasks. This is too bright. Chen Xiao now truly feels that choosing Luo Gu for the team is incredibly correct. Can that intellectually disabled genius, who I haven't seen before, be so bright? Even if he can receive the task next to that intellectually disabled genius, will that intellectually disabled genius be able to have a cold face and a warm heart like Luo Gu? Perhaps it is possible, but there is a high probability that it is also impossible. Maybe he'll even blow up his dog head. Just like Luo Gu hitting others, that's really brutal, so why bother risking the near and the far? Regardless of the outcome of the competition between Luo Gu and that intellectually disabled genius as the final team leader, Luo Gu is the sun that always shines on him, the best mentor and guide on the basketball road so far. Chen Xiao's current understanding of basketball is only partial, and he can only roughly feel Ron Howard's kindness, but the other onlookers next to him feel more than just a little bit of kindness. Ron Howard, this guy, still has such a gentle time. Yesterday when recruiting new employees, Kevin Maynard and Todd Townsend, who had been beaten by Ron Howard 1 by 1, felt like they had misread someone. Yesterday when facing them, Ron Howard, who was so fierce, was so gentle when facing this precious beast of the team. If Ron Howard could have restrained his hands so gently when facing them yesterday, they would never have isolated this powerful teammate. This guy. For a moment, thinking of the scene of being mercilessly beaten by Ron Howard yesterday, the Marquette University players around were all gritting their teeth. All teammates, this is too double standard. However, little one was actually excited again. He wouldn't think Ron Howard had a chance to win by binding his own hands, would he? I think Ron Howard doesn't need to slide, he's just jumping and scaring, and even a little one can't get past him. I bet that little one will lose his basketball in 5 seconds. For the first time in a singles match, I was a beginner and my opponent was still Ron Howard. I think 3 seconds, it's just a little bit of a drop. For a moment, there was a sour sound coming from around. Tim, do you think this beginner kid will drop the ball in 3 seconds? 3 seconds. I think 3 seconds are too long. A player of Ron Howard's level, even with his own hands tied, carries pressure that beginners cannot resist. Beginners like Chen Xiao, even facing Ron Howard standing there, don't know what to do and break through to the left. Break through to the right. What action is used to break through? Where am I? Who am I? What am I going to do? Finally, Chen Xiao would stand there dumbfounded, bewildered, as if submerged in water. Then Ron Howard gave a scare, and with Chen Xiao's own nervousness, he dropped the ball directly. Of course, I thought so in my heart, but when faced with the head coach's inquiry, I couldn't say that. Otherwise, the head coach will feel that he has a harsh attitude towards this beginner, and there is suspicion of retaliation for being deceived, ambushed, or beaten. It shouldn't last long. Is that right? Tom Crane smiled noncommittally. My assistant answered a standard answer. But he is a person who believes in miracles more. He believes that life will always surprise those who believe in miracles. Perhaps surprises may not always be present, but you need to have a mindset of believing in miracles. Only in this way can you be uplifted in the face of any difficulties. So this time, will the beginner who surprised him yesterday continue to surprise him? On the training ground, Chen Xiao was indeed dribbling in place, as if unsure of how to break through to the left and right. Seeing Chen Xiao like this, everyone on the sidelines, except Tom Crane, looks like a replica. In fact, even Ron Howard, who was standing in front of Chen Xiao, was thinking to let this kid be confused for a while, and then scare him off the ball in his hand, letting him know his current strength and how insignificant he was standing on the court. Ding, use the breakthrough experience card, non-competition type, to detect the usage environment. Ding, a standard available basketball court has been detected around the host. This is an informal competition scene, and the card has been successfully used. The scene is currently being constructed, and the scene has been successfully constructed. Can you use it now? Looking at the 3D scene suddenly appeared above him, and the silhouette figure in the 3D scene identical to himself and Ron Howard. Chen Xiao was a bit silly. This scene. Is it 2SCI.fi, right? And, these two silhouettes. Are they moving? This is the attack and defense of this breakthrough. This silhouette is showing me how to break through Ron Howard's breakthrough path. Experience card. Or teaching cards. Chen Xiao's eyes widened, and his face was excited, bewildered, and shocked. His expression constantly changed, to the point where he almost scared the basketball in his hand. Ron Howard hasn't even intimidated yet. The first time he stood on the court and faced someone in a 1-on-point-1 match, Little Dot was stunned and almost dropped the ball. It's another interesting scene that reminds people of the past, ha ha ha. For a moment, laughter erupted from the sidelines. Today's first update. During the new book period, the fisherman seeks everyone's recommended tickets and collections, as well as the precious patience of book enthusiasts. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. The Spiritual and Genius Glimpse. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. The Spiritual and Genius Glimpse. After using the Breakthrough Experience card, the system is teaching me how to break through Ron Howard. This is the system's breakthrough teaching for me. Breakthrough Experience card. Is this a breakthrough experience card or a teaching experience card? Moreover, what's even more magical is that in this highly SCI.fi 3D scene, Chen Xiao dribbles the ball with very simple movements. He can be sure that these movements are those he learned yesterday, and the clumsiness and rhythm of dribbling are exactly the same as Chen Xiao. Meanwhile, Ron Howard, who is defending in the picture, is also holding his back. What does this mean? This means that after using the Breakthrough Experience card, the SCI.fi scene that appears is not good, only the one he can see is real. Time. It's not without reference value to let him finish the entire Ron Howard game. If it's all Ron Howard, he'll hit his head. The SCI.fi images on my head are very valuable for reference. How could Ron Howard's defense have so many loopholes? Watching myself above me break through Ron Howard in various ways. This made Chen Xiao feel very unbelievable. Because in his eyes just now, Ron Howard's defense was really without any loopholes. He was certain that even if Ron Howard had his hands on his back, it would be difficult for him to break through. But what about the self with the same strength in the picture? The self in the picture is not using any outstanding techniques to break through Ron Howard. The self in the picture is breaking through Ron Howard using the simple dribbling movements that he currently knows. So simple, not flashy at all, and seemingly not strong at all, a very basic dribbling to defeat such a strong Ron Howard. Such a simple dribbling move, how could it be so combined, so arranged, so positioned, and then easily break through Ron Howard with his hands on his back? Why on earth is this happening? Why is there such a big difference when their strength is the same? Are we really of the same strength? Chen Xiao is really shocked now. It's even more shocking than when he saw Ron Howard's immense strength in yesterday's recruitment. Ron Howard has been systematically rated as a D+ level player and is already quite powerful. Even with his hands behind his back, it's hard to imagine him being surpassed in so many ways by himself, who has only learned basic dribbling for a day. This kind of scene really gave him a deeper understanding of basketball, the strength of basketball, and his understanding of basketball. Although it is still very blurry. In the training hall of Marquette University, the onlookers were still laughing. The head coach of the team, Tom Klein, who was originally looking forward to whether Chen Xiao could bring him surprises, saw Chen Xiao's stunned and bewildered expression, and the expectation with a smile on his face slowly faded away. Disappointment is beyond words. As someone who longs for surprises in life every day, without surprises, he won't be disappointed. Otherwise, wouldn't life be completely surrounded by disappointment? Just as Tom Klein put away his expectations, he stood there motionless, like Chen Xiao, who was stunned and moved. Some clumsy dribbling movements. Not very fast propulsion speed. Chen Xiao's dribbling looks like a beginner. Just slightly stronger than a beginner who has only studied for a day, it looks like a beginner who has studied for half a week. It can be said that in the eyes of these professionals, Chen Xiao's strength is visibly low. Of course, Ron Howard's strength is not high now. Carrying both hands on his back also affected Ron Howard's movement speed. Moreover, it is not only the movement that is affected, but also the inability to open his hands, which greatly affects Ron Howard's defensive area. Moreover, Ron Howard's defense is not top-notch, so his defensive strength is now visibly weak. One is the visible weakness of the attack. One is the visible weakness of defense. Although both were visible to the naked eye in front of him. But weakness is different from weakness. Ron Howard's current defensive strength is even weaker than Chen Xiao's dribbling. Moreover, the strength of basketball is not just about hard skills, but also about experience, awareness, and ball skills. Ron Howard's hands were restrained, his consciousness, experience, and ball player were not restrained. It can be said that Ron Howard still has all the strength to teach Chen Xiao a lesson. After a brief absence and discomfort, Chen Xiao was able to recover and bravely dribbled towards Ron Howard. To be honest, Tom Crean was already pleasantly surprised. This indicates that this young man has courage. As for the final result, it doesn't matter. It's great to be able to dribble the ball without walking and fight Ron Howard with his hands on his back for 1 or 2 rounds. After all, the gap in strength is indeed significant. After all, after only practicing dribbling for a day, there is no beginner like this. The laughter and cheers around continue to rise one after another. Because of Chen Xiao's bravery. The hopeful smile on Tom Crane's face returned once again. Even he was prepared to applaud for Chen Xiao, who was about to drop the ball. For beginners, having the courage to fail is worth encouraging. And just as Tom Klein was thinking about how to encourage Chen Xiao, the already noisy atmosphere around suddenly became quiet. The sudden change in the atmosphere on site directly pulled Tom Crane back from his imagination to reality. What's going on? Tom Klein, who was pulled back to reality, began to slowly open his eyes, and the hopeful smile on his face that had been hanging all along solidified. Ron Howard's defense was actually disrupted by Chen Xiao's dribbling. Ron Howard, who suffered a significant decline in strength but still won, was unexpectedly confused by Chen Xiao's simple dribbling like a beginner, despite his experience, consciousness, and goal scorer's complete victory. How did Chen Xiao mess up Ron Howard's defense? Did Ron Howard underestimate the enemy? What the hell is going on? Tom Crane did not see the previous scene. But the next action was still enough to leave him stunned. On the field, Chen Xiao chose the most reassuring breakthrough route in the breakthrough experience card that he could definitely complete. After successfully disrupting Ron Howard's seemingly perfect sliding defense, Chen Xiao, who was originally dribbling with his right hand to break through to the right, suddenly turned around and dribbled with his left hand to break through to the left. Ron Howard's steps were completely disorganized, carrying his hands behind his back. Spiritual actions that are quite shocking for beginners. When Yu Guang saw Chen Xiao breaking through from his side with his less skilled dribbling, Ron Howard, who had completed the breakthrough, was actually more shocked than the audience next to him. At this moment, Ron Howard's mind was already filled with Chen Xiao's spiritual turn just now. Although his defensive strength and area are greatly reduced now due to carrying his hands behind his back. But it's not something that any beginner can teach. Chen Xiaojiang's clumsy and agile turn, taking advantage of his short stature, low center of gravity, and more concealed dribbling, turned and changed hands to break through. Although the movements were not so skilled and beautiful, his thinking was simply perfect. Is this really something that a beginner who has only learned dribbling for a day can do? Genius! This is Ron Howard's first thought. Is Chen Xiao really the kind of genius who far surpasses his true talent? Ron Howard originally wanted Chen Xiao not to be so frivolous in this showdown with him. But now, he suddenly realized that Chen Xiao might be the kind of person who truly floats in the air. At this moment, Ron Howard was so shocked by Chen Xiaojiang's breakthrough that he couldn't speak. The other spectators on the sidelines are actually similar at this time. Chen Xiao surprisingly won in the end. And in a spiritual and unquestionable way. Just now, that stunning glimpse of spirituality and ball business. It's amazing. As an assistant coach at Marquette University, Tim Barkley, who mistakenly recruited Chen Xiao, felt his heartbeat suddenly accelerate. Is it really the next Duncan? Next Olajuwon? Can Olajuwon and Duncan have Chen Xiao's spiritual performance if they only practice dribbling for a day? Tim Barkley and Duncan Olajuwon are not familiar, but he feels that even Duncan and Olajuwon may not be able to show such a spiritual explosion after only practicing dribbling for a day. Can my once embarrassing mistake really turn into one of the immortal hands? Or is it just an accident that Chen Xiao defeated Ron Howard just now? Is it an accident that Chen Xiaojiang's stunning glance filled with players and spiritual breakthroughs just now? Or rather, Ron Howard releases water. After a brief silence and shock, there was actually someone more curious than Tim Barkley. That's the head coach of the team, Tom Klein. Just kidding. If Chen Xiao is truly a super genius with a talent comparable to Duncan and Olajuwon. Even if it's just a talent from a football player, it's exciting enough. His Marquette University will explode as a result, and he will naturally be very curious, excited, and focused. After a brief silence, the first excited Tom Crean even startled Chen Xiao. Chen, Kevin, you have the same 1-on-point-1 fight as before. Chen, you attack Kevin, Kevin, you carry your hands behind your back. Tom Crane is very excited. Chen Xiao and Kevin Maynard, who were named by him, were both very silent. Kevin Maynard remained silent because Chen Xiao was really intimidating when he saw Ron Howard just now. Ron Howard was already about to kneel on one knee, almost embarrassing himself. He is not as strong as Ron Howard. If Chen Xiaojiang's spiritual breakthrough is repeated, wouldn't he be ashamed? Normal 1-on-point-1 is okay, but tying your own hands. What's the point? Chen Xiao is a team pet, not a team father. Why should he treat him like Ron Howard? And yesterday I was humiliated by Ron Howard's beating, what if I were humiliated by a beginner's beating again today? Is it better not to do it? Kevin Maynard doesn't want to have such a 1-on-point-1 match with Chen Xiao. But the authority of the head coach cannot be challenged. Chen Xiao was also very silent because, for some reason, the 1-on-point-1 battle with Kevin Maynard did not generate a task. He really has no interest in a 1-on-point-1 competition where there are no tasks, no rewards, and only efforts without rewards. Chen Xiao also doesn't want to engage in this 1-on-point-1 competition. But he also couldn't disobey the head coach's arrangement. In fact, besides Chen Xiao and Kevin Maynard, Ron Howard is also very silent. The head coach's replacement test for Chen Xiao may not be malicious. But he still felt that his position in the head coach's mind was not as high. If his status is high enough, even if the coach is excited, he will not ignore his feelings. Is this not trusting me? Tom Klein and everyone around him are looking forward to the showdown between Chen Xiao and Maynard. But the result of this showdown was surprising. Chen Xiao, who faced off against Maynard, lacks the slightest spirituality of the previous confrontation with Ron Howard. Stubborn Tom Crane refused to believe it. Once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times after 10 consecutive times, Kevin Maynard, carrying his hands on his back, easily defended Chen Xiao. Tom Crane finally let out a heavy sigh. I have accepted this regrettable reality that I am unwilling to accept. And Tim Barkley and the others next to him breathed a sigh of relief. It's not a genius, it's an accident. Is this normal? Do you really think Duncan and Elijah are cabbage? So, after confirming that Chen Xiao was not a genius, but rather due to an accident or Ron Howard releasing water, Kevin Maynard, Todd Townsend, and others were satisfied. There was no malice, but Ron Howard laughed heartily and left the training ground where Chen Xiao and Ron Howard were training. Pets are still the ones that are not aggressive towards everyone, and have not suddenly become big bad wolves that can devour people. Perhaps at this moment, only Ron Howard felt sad and disappointed when it was proven that Chen Xiao was not a genius, right? Now Ron Howard does have some sadness in his eyes for Chen Xiao. If Chen Xiao is really that kind of super genius, he may really be able to enter the NBA. Even greater than his own hopes. This way, he will be happy for Chen Xiao. But now, Ron Howard is grieving for Chen Xiao. However, Chen Xiao himself is now very happy. He showed no interest in pretending to consume experience cards in front of Kevin Maynard, who couldn't even post tasks. Especially after experiencing the power of the experience card. Ding! Complete Ron Howard's solo challenge, defeat D+ level player Ron Howard in the challenge, receive task rewards, 50 basketball experience points, and a scoring experience card, official game. Ding! Congratulations on the host's first solo victory over a D. level player. Mission reward X2, basketball experience 100, and 2 scoring experience cards, official match, Big Bang. 2 scoring experience cards that can be used in formal competitions are the decent effort and gain. 1 breakthrough experience card, which is also used in informal competitions, has earned so much. It cannot be said that Chen Xiao is a stingy person, but it is indeed quite enjoyable. I didn't expect Rogo to become my first D. level player to defeat in a 1.1 match. If it weren't for Luo Ge's release, with Luo Ge's D+ level strength, I would have been able to defeat him in a 1.1 battle for a long time. I hugged Luo Ge's gentle and considerate thigh right. At this point, Chen Xiao no longer had any position in his heart as a mentally disabled genius competing with Luo Ge. What kind of intellectual disability is not intellectual disability? Genius is not genius, they are not as bright and loyal as my Luo Ge. Of course, with Luo Ge's loyalty and openness, Chen Xiao is not ungrateful either. Luoge, your defensive slip and left-footed small steps are too disorganized, which can easily disrupt your defensive rhythm. In the future, you can try not to use too many predictive left-footed small steps to move horizontally, but to lean slightly and give yourself more space. Your height is appropriate and your speed is fast. See the timing and then move horizontally in time. Cough cough, Luo Ge, if I'm not right, just pretend you didn't hear me. I just feel like you might have defended me better just now, hee. Seeing Ron Howard's suddenly widened eyes, Chen Xiao felt a bit embarrassed and scratched his head. What he just said is the evaluation of the defender's defense through the system's 3-dimensional graphics. He doesn't have the level to evaluate a strong D+ level player at the moment. He may not even have the strength of ABCDEF. G at the moment. Just at this moment, Chen Xiao didn't know that Ron Howard's heart had once again stirred up turbulent waves. Can you feel so much just by feeling it? At this moment, Ron Howard no longer felt the piercing laughter in his ears. Genius. This is a true genius. Today's second update, seeking recommendations and collections during the new book period. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Genius, Unique Skills. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Genius, Unique Skills. The cries of players training kept echoing one after another. This return to a completely normal training atmosphere made the previously eye-catching singles between Chen Xiao and Ron Howard seem completely non-existent. What unparalleled genius, what amazing images, everything seems to be non-existent. If Chen Xiao and Ron Howard, sitting by the training ground at this moment, were not looking at each other so differently, Chen, you are a genius, a true genius. I'm not. No, you are. Ron Howard is very serious. And Chen Xiao, who was watched by Ron Howard with extremely enthusiastic eyes, looked at Ron Howard's sincere eyes, feeling a bit embarrassed. Genius or something. Since starting to learn basketball, Chen Xiao can feel that his sensitivity to basketball is indeed very strong. Ron Howard teaches him movements once, and he can basically learn a rough idea. Of course, it may also be because what is being taught now is simple movements. However, judging from Ron Howard's surprised expression after he quickly learned, even though he was learning the simplest movements, his learning ability should still have surprised Ron Howard quite a bit. Is his exceptional sensitivity and learning ability towards basketball inherent to him, or is it a bonus after acquiring the system? Chen Xiao doesn't know. There is no way to verify. But is it just a genius with such basketball learning ability? Chen Xiao finds it difficult to say. Because his basketball potential is largely unknown. Learning quickly doesn't mean you can reach the top. People have potential. Not to mention the unknown potential, let's talk about the already known parts. His abilities and potential in those 6 physical attributes should be quite average, right? Even among ordinary people, it is quite ordinary, not to mention in the professional sports circle. However, even if it wasn't a genius, being called a genius by Ron Howard, Chen Xiao felt a little excited at the age of 18. I'm quite happy. Although he felt he couldn't bear it. Moreover, Chen Xiao could also see that Ron Howard believed he was a genius because he had just pointed out Ron Howard's problem with defensive gliding. It's not his basketball learning ability that he's proud of now. This makes him even more unable to bear it. This is the system's ability, this is the card's ability, this is not his ability. Although Xiao Yi also likes to be praised and admired, he still has face. However, judging from Luo Ge's sparkling eyes, the experience card that he had been ignoring before was really strong. Not only can it teach him, but it can also show him the other person's weaknesses. Not only can it teach him, but it can also guide strong people like Luo Gu. This gave Chen Xiao, who had given up on the path of biotechnology and embarked on the path of basketball, a sense of unease, confusion, and insecurity, more confidence now. Now, Xiao Yi is also a basketball player with a trump card. And it is also a trump card that even strong players like Luo Gu sincerely admire. Chen Xiao's somewhat shy and hesitant modesty made Ron Howard find it very interesting. Chen, you don't have to be humble. In basketball, you are just a genius. Although I don't have that much knowledge about basketball, I also know that any beginner who has only practiced for a day before you probably doesn't have the keen basketball sense you have. That's really a fleeting judgment. This is not physical memory, beginners do not have the judgment of physical memory, it comes from the soul, innate talent. And this is genius. Luo Gu, I said I'm not good anymore, why are you still endless? Chen Xiao knew that unless Luo Gu knew he had a system, no matter what he said, it would be useless. Thinking of this, Chen Xiao gave up directly. Luoga, haven't anyone told you before about your defensive sliding? Chen Xiao is actually quite curious about how strong the system and card capabilities are. A genius like Luo Gu must have encountered many great coaches, opponents, or people who pay attention to him. Can't anyone see the problem of Luo Ge's defensive slippage? Do systems and cards really have this unique and unparalleled ability? Chen, do you think there's a problem with my defensive slide? Looking at the smile on Ron Howard's face, Chen Xiao looked a bit dumbfounded. What is the problem? Luo Gu, aren't you suddenly foolish? If it weren't for your defensive gliding, I pointed it out. You would have looked at me so admiringly just now, why do you have to put the hat of genius on my head? Chen, there is no problem with my defensive slide. Any coach, opponent, or professional who sees my defensive slide just now will feel incredibly standard. It is the most standard defensive slide that all coaches hope their players can practice. After Ron Howard finished speaking seriously, Chen Xiao's head was already a bit sticky. Please forgive his limited basketball knowledge for not understanding Ron Howard's words. The most standard defensive slide. And is it the most standard defensive slide that all basketball coaches hope their players can master? How could the system say there was a problem with Ron Howard's defensive slide? Seeing Chen Xiao's face shrouded in circles by his words, Ron Howard smiled. Normal. After all, Chen is a beginner. How could I possibly understand? Chen, the most standard defensive slide is not the most suitable for my defensive slide. Is the most standard not the most suitable? Playing basketball is not about solving math problems. There is a unified correct answer to math problems, but basketball is not. There is no standard answer to any basketball action, and the most standard is not the best. What is most suitable for oneself is the best. The most standard is not the best, what is most suitable for oneself is the best. Chen Xiao seems to understand something now. Chen, do you know Jordan? He was already 26 years old when he found the most suitable mid-throw position for himself. Jordan started learning basketball and practicing mid-throw when he was a few years old. It took him more than 20 years to find the most suitable mid-throw position for himself. For basketball players, whether it's defensive gliding, mid-range shooting, dribbling, or other movements, they first learn the standard and then look for their own basketball. Some people are lucky enough to find their own basketball early on, while others may be unlucky and may never find the most suitable one for themselves in their lifetime. The most standard basketball can be taught by a coach, while the most suitable for oneself is that no one can teach it except oneself. And you just made 19-year-old me find my own defensive slide. Chen, now you know why I say you're a genius, right? Looking at Ron Howard's grateful smile on his face, Chen Xiao opened his mouth wide and instinctively nodded. Now, he really understands. If it weren't for Ron Howard telling him, as a beginner, he wouldn't have known that basketball has such a way. Rogo, do you think Jordan found the most suitable center pitcher for himself at the age of 26? Ron Howard may not have access to the top coaches in the basketball industry, but Jordan definitely has access to the top coaches in basketball. With the help of so many top coaches, Jordan needs to wait until he is 26 years old to find the most suitable pitching position for himself. This is publicly available information. Jordan's CIC success occurred in 1989, when he was 26 years old. Amazing. Chen Xiao instinctively sighed. This was not about Jordan, but about the emotional system and experience card. Compared to most people who spend their entire lives in confusion, finding the most suitable basketball for themselves at the age of 26 is indeed very fast and powerful. Listening to Luo Ji's words, finding the most suitable basketball position for oneself for 20 years is already considered fast. Chen, you should know that not only ordinary basketball players, but even in the NBA, most NBA players spend their lives playing the most standard and mechanical basketball, and most people cannot find the most suitable skills for themselves. Even if it's Jordan, although he has found the most suitable shot for himself and trained it into a stunt, most of his other basketball moves have not yet found the most suitable one for him. Of course, Jordan must have gone further on this path than others. However, I can be certain that when Jordan was 19 years old, he never found a defensive slide that suited him. It can be seen that Ron Howard is really happy. Can Luo Gu train his defensive gliding like Jordan's mid-range shot into a stunt? It's hard to say if I have the potential to develop my defensive gliding skills, and I don't know. Finding what suits me is just the first step in mastering my skills. It can be considered that I have found the right path to the ultimate goal. As for whether I can reach the ultimate goal, it still requires a lot of effort, potential, and opportunities. Even Jordan, at the age of 26, found a suitable mid-throw position for himself, and only at 28 did he truly practice his skills and achieve the championship. However, you helped me find the right path so much faster than others. Even if my talent is not so good, it has given me more confidence in the future. If Jordan's mid-range shot is turned into a golden stunt by him. Ron Howard is actually not that greedy. He just hopes that his future defensive slides can be trained into bronze, so that he can also have a place in the NBA. Having bronze-level defensive skills can be considered a distinctive character player who can continue to play in the NBA. So, Chen, don't doubt that you are a genius. Here we go again. However, Ron Howard explained so much to him that Chen Xiao was more receptive than before. Genius, the system is indeed super genius. However, although the genius is the system belongs to me. This should be considered my genius, right? So, although he doesn't have such a big face and really nods to admit that he is a genius. But upon hearing Ron Howard say so, Chen Xiao's smile was happy, as if Ron Howard was praising him. However, Chen Xiao's smile became somewhat solidified. Chen, even if your height and arm span are not outstanding, relying solely on your talent and understanding basketball, you will definitely have a place in the basketball industry in the future. Even if you can't be a player in the NBA, you can definitely be a coach in the NBA. Even if you can't be a player in the NBA, can you still be a coach? Luo Gu, your words are a bit heart-wrenching. Do NBA coaches earn more than biological engineers who dominate the 21st century? Chen Xiao is not interested in money, he is simply curious. Of course, this is just a little roast in your heart. Don't take it seriously. What can truly be taken seriously is seeing Ron Howard so happy. Chen Xiao was quite happy for him. Ron Howard had always had a stern face before. Although Ron Howard did not say anything, Chen Xiao could also guess that it must be the pressure brought to him by the battle with the future team leader. Now that Luo Gu has climbed into the gate of the hall on the defensive slide, has his confidence greatly increased. It's quite gratifying that Luo Gu can help him so much. Luo Gu is such a cheerful person, good people should have good karma. Moreover, if Rogo can defeat the American super genius named Dina and the intellectually disabled genius to become the team leader, he will also benefit. After all, if Luo Gu succeeded, he stood in the right line. He is now Ron, a super genius, a defender on the right path, a future NBA defensive powerhouse reserve, and Howard's only companion on the team. Speaking of which, the name Luo Gu is quite loud. He read in the newspaper that there is a strong defensive thief named Ron in the NBA. Is there anyone in the NBA called Howard who has strong defense? If there is, the name Luo Gu is simply a name born to be a defender. Although Luo Gu is good at attacking now, it is obvious that since he has found a way to enter the court in defense, Luo Gu will definitely focus on defense in the future. Wait. Chen Xiao was a little excited when he suddenly thought of something. This system works. By the way, I can help Luo Gu find his way into the hall on the slide, but what about other aspects? Chen Xiao's eyes looked at Ron Howard, who was still sincerely grateful to him, blinking wildly. This idea very bold. Today, the status of this book has been changed and the contract has been successfully signed. Students who like this book and have spare time can give rewards to increase the popularity of the book. Of course, collecting and recommending are also important, so collecting and recommending are also important. This is free. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. The Fools of Marquette University. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. The Fools of Marquette University. At Marquette University today, Chen Xiao and Ron Howard are to some extent integrated. Chen Xiao is grateful for Ron Howard's openness and help. Similarly, Ron Howard is also grateful for Chen Xiao's prompt. The relationship between the two is very, very good now. For Chen Xiao, if Ron Howard's position at Marquette University is high enough and stable enough, it will be of great help to him. After obtaining the system, Chen Xiao wanted to enter the NBA to make big money and change the fate of the villagers. This is his life dream and pursuit. But the problem is how to enter the NBA. This is a very big problem. When Chen Xiao was reading the newspaper, he also had a slight understanding of the NBA's talent selection and draft. Most NBA players are talented players selected from various first-tier leagues of the NCAA in the United States. So, if you want to enter the NBA, you need to stand out in NCAA and university. Getting enough attention and recognition is the only way to have the opportunity to enter the NBA. The NBA only has over 50 players in its annual draft, but the NCAA basketball First Division has over 340 teams, each with 12 players and nearly 4,000 regular players. Plus unofficial players like Chen Xiao, the number of players is even more, at least 5,000 people, right? More than 5,000 people are vying for the spot for those 50-plus people. 100 to 1. The difficulty of competition is comparable to being admitted to 985 schools in China through the college entrance examination. Moreover, Chen Xiao is still a beginner and has never played basketball before the age of 18. This is equivalent to a 15-year-old boy who has never studied before, entering an ordinary high school to attend high school, requiring him to be admitted to the 985 after 3 years. Chen Xiao's current situation is like this. Even if he has a system, it is not easy. Of course, what's different is that he has 4 years of time, and from a system perspective, Marquette University may not be an ordinary high school, but a top high school. Even so, he still needs to plan something. With the help of Ron Howard, improving his strength is the foundation and the most important thing for him now. But besides that, he also needs to have more opportunities in the team. At the very least, he needs to become a regular player of the team first, right? In the NCAA team, becoming a regular player allows him to have the opportunity to continue training with the team and gain more opportunities for growth. Even if you don't have much playing time, you still have the opportunity to play, and of course, you can improve even more. Even if we don't mention these practical things. Just talk about some empty things. As long as he becomes a regular player of the NCAA, Chen Xiao is considered to have eliminated those reserve players like him from the NCAA team. Chen Xiao's competition difficulty in the NBA has changed from 100.1 to 80.1, and from being required to get into the 985 to being required to get into the 211. Although it's still difficult, at least this number gives people a bit more confidence. With his current strength, can he enter the official 12-player roster when the NCAA new season is about to begin and the team's official training camp officially opens in October? Chen Xiao thinks it may be difficult. The team had 8 regular players last season. Dina, a super genius in the United States, has extraordinary strength, reaching the D+ level with Ron Howard, and the intellectually disabled genius who may return after passing the exam. These 3 people will definitely occupy 3 spots. There is only 1 spot left. And for this spot, Chen Xiao needs to compete with Kevin Maynard and Todd Thompson. Unless there is an explosive improvement in his strength in these 5 months. Kevin Maynard and Todd Townsend may not be geniuses like Ron Howard, but they are also geniuses who have received professional basketball training since childhood. Even if Chen Xiao obtains the system, can 5 months compare to 10 years of effort from others? And let's take a look at their heights again. One is 1.98 meters and the other is 2.01 meters. These physical conditions he himself is now 1.8 meters. It's not that Chen Xiao lacks confidence in the system. He believes that unless the leader of the team is his own, he will definitely not be the one to enter the formal player lineup. With Ron Howard's gratitude towards him now, and Ronaldo's outgoing personality, if he becomes the leader of the team, coupled with his slight desire to become a regular player, Ronaldo will definitely be willing to fight for him and the team, helping him through backdoors. In my freshman year, I became a regular player and became familiar with the rules of NCAA games, as well as the tactical requirements and intentions of the team's head coach. I also adapted to the atmosphere of basketball and NCAA games. In my sophomore year, I strive to become a rotation player for the team who can frequently play, and gain some fame in the NCAA, making me look familiar. In my junior year, I should be able to play as a main player and my strength should also grow. I don't need Rogo's protection, so I can showcase my skills and shine, strive to become the focus of NCAA's attention, and find opportunities to enter the NBA. Chen Xiao feels that he is a relatively down-to-earth person. And this is also the best way he can imagine entering the NBA now. Of course, nothing is planned to keep up with changes, and things are not always as planned. If he grows faster than expected with the help of Rogo and the system, he can also go to the NBA earlier to make big money. Of course, if the growth rate is not as fast, it may also be later. But no matter what, he needs to complete the process of becoming a regular player in the team during his freshman year. If unable to enter the team's official player lineup. In October, when Luo Gu follows the team to play everywhere, he will stay at school to study. Who will he find to study and who will he find to complete training tasks? How else does he grow? So, I want to achieve my plans to enter the NBA. Rogo became the leader of the team. He became a regular player in the team during his freshman year. These two are the foundation of the plan. And Rogo becoming the leader of the team is the foundation for him to become a regular player in his freshman year. Now, perhaps the improvement of Luo Ge's strength is more important to him than to Luo Gu himself. If he didn't know that the experience card could guide Luo Ge's strength improvement, during the period when the main players are about to return to the team, Chen Xiao may only be in a hurry. Before, he didn't think he had the ability to interfere with the boss dispute between Ron Howard, Dina, and that intellectually disabled genius. But now it's different. How could he sit idly by knowing that he could intervene in the boss dispute at Marquette University? He has already finished standing, and even in the eyes of Kevin Maynard and the others, he is welded to Ron Howard. If Rogo hadn't become the team leader, he and Rogo would probably not have been able to survive at Marquette University. With this strength, Luo Gu can still make a living by transferring to other NCAA teams 1 year later. And what about him? Which NCAA basketball team is willing to accept him? He can't even transfer schools. If that's the case, even if he had a basketball system, his basketball career would probably be almost cut off. It can be said that surpassing his sister, they placed all their hopes on him, and now, he has placed all his hopes on Luo Gu. Chen Xiao is an 18-year-old boy, but his upbringing environment from childhood to adulthood can be said to have developed a determined and proactive personality. After all, a person from his background really can't afford to fail. So although Chen Xiao usually looks detached, he is still someone who enjoys thinking. After clarifying these points, Chen Xiao's action ability is also quite astonishing. People like Chen Xiao, who are as frugal, almost all of the informal competition experience cards obtained from completing training tasks with Ron Howard have been fully utilized by Ron Howard. Chen Xiao tried, but the scoring experience card didn't work. He specifically asked Ron Howard to practice shooting and obtained a mid-range shooting experience card that worked, but couldn't get Ron Howard to work with him. We can't use it together, just shooting on our own, naturally there's no way to improve Ron Howard's strength. After a final spin, Chen Xiao realized that breaking through the experience card could enhance Ron Howard's strength. Even if it is no longer possible to trigger a solo mission with Ron Howard, Chen Xiao can still duel with Ron Howard, or use a breakthrough card to open that SCI-identified 3D scene, search for Ron Howard's defensive loopholes, and help Ron Howard correct his defensive actions. Slippery steps, steals, the way of exerting force after confrontation, and even blocking, are almost omnidirectional. How much has Ron Howard's defensive strength improved now, Chen Xiao doesn't know. But Ron Howard's current defensive moves have definitely found the most suitable for him. He has mastered all his defensive moves. Now Chen Xiao has used the system to help Ron Howard pave a smooth path in defense. How far we can go really depends on Ron Howard's efforts and potential. As long as Ron Howard works hard enough and has high potential in the future, he can definitely develop defensive skills. Although it can only improve Ron Howard's defense, Chen Xiao feels a bit regretful. But seeing Ron Howard's constantly improving mood and growing gratitude towards himself, Chen Xiao was still very happy. Not to mention the importance of Luo Gu to oneself. Just say that these experience cards were originally taught by Luo Gu and given to him by pouring water. Taken from Luo Gu, used for Luo Gu, no problem. After the first 1.1 match between Chen Xiao and Ron Howard, they became marginalized figures on the team. Ron Howard was originally an unpopular fringe figure. And Chen Xiao, after he firmly stood in line with Ron Howard, Kevin Maynard and Todd Townsend, no longer wanted to take him back as team pets, although they still wanted Chen Xiao as a pet. But everyone is not on the same path, different paths do not conspire against each other. However, although Chen Xiao and Ron Howard are now completely marginalized in the team, they are still the focus of attention on the team's training ground. Because these two people look too foolish now. Didn't Ron Howard hear that his intelligence is very high? Does it make sense to help that little one like this every day? He wouldn't think that just letting go like this would make the head coach look up at Xiao Bujian and put him on the team's official player list, would he? I think it's better for Ron Howard to worry about his official player position rather than letting Xiao Bujian deceive him into the official player list. Watching Chen Xiao and Ron Howard performing not far away, Kevin Mina smiled and squinted his eyes. Ron Howard is stronger than him and Todd. Todd's official player position is tied to that intellectually disabled genius. He experienced the strength of that intellectually disabled genius with Todd's recommendation yesterday. That intensity, TSK. With that strength, I still had to work on the exam paper for a whole day, feeling dizzy. Ron Howard is very strong, but there is absolutely no chance to confront that intellectually disabled genius. No wonder Ron Howard is so strong that the head coach remains indifferent. No wonder Dina never appeared on the training ground. I heard that Dina was recommended by the head coach to meet that intellectually disabled genius before choosing to join Marquette University. The position of Marquette University as the leader has long been determined from top to bottom. The more Kevin Maynard thinks about Ron Howard, the more tragic it becomes. I heard that he gave up Valparaiso University to come to Marquette University. That's Valparaiso University, and it's also local to his hometown of Chicago. Isn't it sad to give up everything and pursue something that can never be pursued? However, what does it have to do with himself whether he is sad or not? The important thing is the official player position of the team. The most stable position for the remaining two official players in the team is not Ron Howard, but Todd, who is bound to that intellectually disabled genius. What he needs to compete for is not Todd, but Ron Howard. He cannot match Ron Howard in strength. However, he is a small forward and Ron Howard is a defender. Ron Howard's position overlaps with that intellectually disabled genius. The team has an excess of defensive positions, but a shortage of small forwards. This can be seen from the attitude of the head coach towards Ron Howard, who is not so eager. So, it's hard to say who the final official player quota belongs to. If he could establish a good relationship with that intellectually disabled genius during this period, It's hard to protect oneself, and I still have to perform such meaningless scenes. Do you really think everyone is an idiot? It's really sad and pitiful. If the result of the first solo match between Chen Xiao and Ron Howard was previously thought to have some unexpected elements, now almost everyone feels that it was Ron Howard's involvement in supporting Chen Xiao's performance. At most, some people may think more. Is it really that simple? Why do they have to play this kind of play that can't deceive me? Am I being treated like a fool? Do I look foolish? Tom Crane is very puzzled. Is Ron Howard and Chen Xiao stupid, or is he himself a fool? This is really a philosophical question. Although constantly surrounded by various teasing and puzzled gazes, Chen Xiao and Ron Howard did not pay attention. Although the experience cards were blossoming one by one, he kept completing the training tasks assigned by Ron Howard, and his basketball experience was constantly improving. Moreover, Chen Xiao felt that his dribbling skills were becoming more and more familiar. And Ron Howard, as he constantly corrected his various defensive moves, naturally became less concerned about others watching him like a fool. Ding, Ron Howard has released a solo mission to defeat C.level player Ron Howard. The mission reward includes 100 basketball experience points and a scoring experience card, official game. Did Luo Ji's solo challenge trigger the mission again? Moreover, Luo Ji's strength has increased. The D.level Marquette University is one of the top teams in the NCAA. The C. class is definitely an exception in the NCAA, and I'm afraid they can all play as substitutes in the NBA, right? At this moment, Chen Xiao, who was looking at Ron Howard, felt that what he saw was not Luo Gu, but a huge golden thigh. What American super genius Dina, what intellectually disabled genius, Rogo at this time, I would like to call him a god. A god who can fulfill my dreams. Roger, we can do it. Facing Chen Xiao, who suddenly became excited, Ron Howard tilted his head. I'm a bit puzzled. I always feel that Chen is a bit foolish at times. Thank you to my book friend, I am Bird's 10,000 reward. I would like to thank my book friend, Wu, for his 25 years of study, and for his 1,000 reward. I would like to express my gratitude to my book friend, who has given me various rewards, such as the free pastoral Eagle Yang, Twilight Star, Carisas, Starting Point Reading, Long and Long Zhang, and Xinqiao Ingyan. Thank you all for your support. During the new book period, the fisherman seeks all kinds of support. End of this chapter.